Okay, we're live. I'll do a sound check real quick to make sure. Okay. For some reason Windows likes to randomly make my random change my audio to like 100% volume, which makes the microphone pop. So we're gonna wait for some of the viewers to jump on, and then we will get to the discussion. What? Okay. Hey Joey, good evening. This is weird. Oh no! This rhythm game is cool. I just don't like the control choice. It's weird. Okay, that was not good. I actually was expecting to do better. 91% though. Okay, Descantus. So I plan to talk about building a PC for those that are new to PC building. There hasn't really been a whole lot of stuff, tech news in the last couple of weeks. I still do need to make that video, that follow-up video for productivity benchmarks, comparing the 7950X 3D to the standard 7950X. I may also include the 13900K in those results. I just don't know what's the best way to present that, because when we're talking productivity, that typically is going to be more multi-threaded, and when it's multi-threaded, you know, that indicates typically higher power consumption. So, and I'm running my systems either at stock or I'm running them at power, like eco mode setups. So I don't know how that's going to affect the results, because when you run the CPU in like a eco mode, you don't really lose much gaming performance. You tend to lose more in the multi-thread than in the single thread. Why do I keep getting good on that one? Why am I keep getting good? Oh no, why do I keep messing that up? I feel like this is easier to play on a membrane keyboard than on a mechanical keyboard. I don't know. Oh, I messed that one up. I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Oh, now, wow. Surprisingly, that's still 90%, even though I really messed up at the end. Is that... who's left? 1, 2... I think there's just those 2 songs. Let's do this one. If I have to do pro mode, I'll do pro mode only to get the stuff to get the items from the shop. I wonder if this is easier to play on mobile than on the actual keyboard. I get used to it after a while. What? Okay. Whoop. Okay. Alright, one more. One more song. If Marcelo joins, we will probably do the Resident Evil 4 demo. Otherwise, well, we'll see. I'll probably still do it. Alright, this should be the last one. Okay. Why is that one not activating? What? This keyboard, what's going on with this keyboard? It's not letting me double tap. What? Oh my god. Oh, I'm pressing the wrong button. I'm pressing L instead of K. I just realized that my fingers were off by one on the right side. Okay, just short of 5,000 on that one. That was a long one. That was actually a pretty lousy score. Anyway, that was the last song. So I think that's it. Just trying to get all these Genshin seasonals out of the way. If we get enough viewers, then we can probably talk about some technology related thing. Okay, we gotta do this guy now. Alright, let's see. This one's gonna involve a camera. Camera! Check notes. First up is a photo of the main gate of Mondstadt. Okay, that's easy. That's easy. I don't know if this is the smartest choice to approach Mondstadt from this far out. Well, anyway. Oh, I gotta take the picture from there? You must equip your camera and interact with the photo taking. Okay. We need to equip this thing, the camera. What do I need to do? What? I gotta get the building. The angle is fixed. Like this? Include the character. And it must be in the morning. Okay. Was that it? 2. Check notes. Happy Windblown Festival. Oh wait, you know what? Let's teleport over here. It's faster. So, you know, I was thinking the other day, the different parts of the PC. You know, like the power supply, the CPU, all those things. Am I going the right way? No, I'm not. This is where I need to go. It's like a little mini elevator. It's like a deploy a little mini elevator. Okay. I guess. Whoops. Not this. Z. Okay. And then the last one. The outside. Okay. So I always think like the CPU. The CPU is like the brain of the PC. The power supply is like the heart of the PC. And the motherboard is like the skeleton. Or I don't know what the skeletal, well, the case is kind of like the skeleton. No, the case is more like the skin. Oh, why do I keep opening the chat thing? Oh, use an elemental skill. Okay, that works. That worked. Okay. That's all 3. Oh, now we gotta go somewhere else. So we gotta take a picture. Oh, wow, there's a lot more of these than I thought. So there's like, so we gotta do 6 more. But it's like, the power supply is the thing that I think most people forget about. When they build a PC, I feel like that's the thing that is often overlooked. Character must wield pyro? There, it looks cool. So it's like the more high-end the PC is, the more expensive it ends up being. Because I don't know, the price of the, like, the whole entire system needs to kind of match. Okay, that looks cool. Character using a normal or charged attack. There. just pick somebody and do something. It's basically what this game tells you to do. I'm gonna need to do all of this within the next 9 days. So I figured, you know what, I'm just gonna get it all done today while waiting for people to join the stream, so then we can talk about technology. Or if no one really joins in the first like 15-20 minutes, well, then we'll figure out what to do. But I think I was thinking, you know, there's not a whole lot to talk about, so I was like, well, we'll just talk about like first time PC building, like if you're building your computer for desktop PC for the first time, if you're new to the hobby or if you're getting into it. This doesn't work? Huh. Oh, it needs to go way up there. It worked that time. It's like a little portable elevator. just keep like bringing in oh wow, I didn't even get this. Wow. The City of Wind. We need to get these two together. Oh, it has to be from 17 to 1900 hours. Well, it's almost. I guess I have to wait for it. Yeah, like the PSU, the power supply is the heart of the system, and the CPU is the brain of the system. So it's almost like those two things together need to be. Why is it not? There we go. I'm gonna put this here. The picture turned out like not how I expected. I'll take it. Alright, last set. Oh, we gotta go to the wintry place. Man, the weather is really crazy in a lot of parts of the US this week. You know, like California's buried in snow, at least like the northern part of it. They're getting a lot of rain. The upper northeast is gonna get a whole bunch of snow, like 12 inches. So, pretty crazy. Hold on, let me see. Let's get, I guess let's get this one. Oh, I have to wait till morning now? Till 8 a.m. It says till 8 a.m. But there's a lot of options now, you know. I feel like for those who upgraded to AM5 or Intel's DDR5 platform, like, you're pretty much set for the next several years, because the way I see it, we kind of entered into a new decade. Well, technically Zen 3 was kind of the start, and Rocket Lake was kind of the start of a new era of computing. What is this? What does it want me to do? Oh, I have to take the picture. There. Talk to Sucrose. For what? I guess I'll fly over to this one. But I feel like anyone who's on Zen 3 or Rocket Lake, they're pretty much set for a while. So like the 5800X 3D or the 5950X, those CPUs, if you have one of those CPUs, you're pretty much, yeah, no, hey Ray, yeah, I know. So I think like anybody who is on a Ryzen 5000 series CPU or an Intel 11th generation CPU. Oh, I messed up. I went too far down. I should have stayed higher up in the air. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to make this because the climb is too high up. I'm going to have to eat something to give me more stamina. We might be able to make it. I hope so. But yeah, like if you're on a DDR5 platform now, I feel like you don't really need to worry about upgrading for a while, regardless of what CPU you have. That looks like a cool character idle animation. Sometimes you have to sit here and wait. Anytime now. Have you played that new? Yeah, we will be doing that here in a little bit. Okay, whatever. All right, I think that's the second to the last one. I think we got one more picture. One more picture. If Marcelo joins, then we'll switch over to the Resident Evil demo because that's what he wanted to see. So we'll be doing Genshin, and then we'll be doing like a computer discussion here, technology discussion in a little bit. Am I going the right way? No. Why does it keep on resetting where I'm supposed to go? We might end up having to fight these guys because you're gonna get in the way. Yeah. Oh, look, this guy joined too. Hmm. What do I think about Forspoken, the game? Fizzles out before it even got going. I covered it. I covered it when it was at launch. It's a pretty good game in the sense that the action's cool, the combat system's good. I don't know, I kind of like this angle a lot. You know what? Let's get a wider angle. Let's do this. She's doing an idle animation. That worked? That counts? Okay, that counted. Alright, that's all of them. Event shop. Can I get the item? What does this do? Festive exchange ticket. What is this? Unfaded. Oh, you know what? There's a new weapon. I got a new weapon from this event. So it's a new claymore. It's called the Mailed Flower. Within 8 seconds after the character's elemental skill hits an opponent or the character triggers an elemental reaction, their attack and elemental mastery will increase by 12%. So how do I enhance this thing? What's the refinement for this? Oh, this thing. So Whispers of Wind and Flower. So let's build this weapon. Let's build this new weapon. Just because. I don't know. It's a free. The reason why I like to build these is because during the event you receive 1.5 times the you get more EXP when you level up the weapon during the event, so it's always kind of worth it. Oh, and it uses this, but this is for tomorrow, so I might not be able to level it all the way today, but I'll have to do it tomorrow. Wait a minute, do I really want to use these? Do I want to get rid of all these weapons? I don't think I need any of this stuff. What monitor do I use? I covered it in another video. I have a video on the channel showing the monitor, doing a review. I reviewed the monitor that I'm currently using. It's the Sony InZone M9. So it's a 4K HDR 144 Hz FreeSync monitor. 27 inch. So it's the right size. Oh, now we're powering this thing up. Wait, what is this thing? Sturdy shell. Dropped from consecrated beast? I don't even know. I've never even heard of this thing. How do I not have those? Anyway, let's get the ascension for this thing. Or the refinement material for this thing. Let's take this thing to rank 5, max it out. It's this thing. So I need that one, and then I need like all these other ones. I guess we'll grab this too. Or not that. Grab the crown. And then the only other thing, oh, you know what? We're gonna need these to level up this weapon. So prioritize those first, and then I guess we'll take the balloons. Actually, you know what? I think I can grab everything here. Yeah, I think I have enough material to get everything. Take all of this. Take all of these. And all of this. There, the whole shop sold out of everything. And then now, I guess I'll take all of this. See what we can get. Freedom. Resistant. Well, that one I have a lot. Ballad. I need these. Do I have enough to get everything? Ballad. Oh, here we go. Now is where I think I'm kind of maxed out. So in order to get these, I'm gonna have to do the music again, I think. Unless there's some other event. Windbloom Encounters, what's this? Oh, the quest? So basically what these are for refining the weapon. So right now it's rank 1. With these, I can specialized refinement material for mailed flower decorations can always provide a little something beyond an item's value and function. In times like these, an unwithering flower can lend some romantic essence to even a weapon. Alright, so we're gonna max this thing out. Rank 2. Rank 3. 4, and then 5. So we're increasing the elemental mastery. Wait, attack percent and elemental mastery. That's actually not that bad. I feel like this weapon is good for, like, possibly Dia, sort of. But Dia's not really a elemental mastery wielder. But the thing is, if you build her with a Sumeru group, she's going to be causing burn a lot. So now we're going to have to hunt for these. Which I've never even heard of these things before. But yeah, for monitors, I'm using the Sony InZone is the main monitor in the middle. And then on the sides, I have a left and a right monitor. So I have 3 monitors total. The 2 on the sides are the Agon. I did a video on them as well, but it's from years ago, from like 2017, because I've had those monitors for a while. I'm going the completely wrong way. Actually, what I'll do, since this is not maxed out, we're going to go back to the Wolf's Gravestone. And we're going to go back to using this for now. We're going to have to hunt these weird creatures that I never even knew existed. So we'll be discussing technology. Any technology related questions, we can answer them. If they require, like, further discussion. Hey, Hades. Hades has arrived. Oh, there's like a weird dragon, falcon thing, or phoenix or something. Follow the Legend of Zelda thing. Oh, that thing looks tough. We're gonna have to fight that. That's the thing that I have to hunt. Oh, it's a new enemy. It's called the Consecrated Red Vulture, a scavenger bird that was warped and transformed by its consumption of the body of a mighty life form. Use the corresponding elemental attacks to destroy the energy orbs and absorb power. Alright, let's fight him. Whoa. Try this on. Oh, he dodged that? Oh yeah? Get on the elevator. Oh, it's too slow. Al-Haytham's gonna get him. He's good. He's good. This guy's good. Whoa! What is going on? It made like a fire tornado. Oh, it's down. Cause burning. Cause burning. Overloading. 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 Oh, man. This game has really good battle music. I like the battle music in this game. Okay, that thing dropped a... what exactly? It dropped this thing, Sturdy Shell. This is what I need. I need these things to level up my weapon. Is this Genshin Impact? Yeah, this is Genshin Impact. Yeah, I know the game says, the title in the stream says Fatal Frame, and that's very misleading, because obviously I'm not playing that right now. But we'll switch over to that depending on what ends up happening. Oh, that's probably... I don't think we're gonna fight those guys right now. Not like this. Al-Haytham's in bad shape. We're gonna need to put in a healer. In fact, I'm thinking we drop either Lisa or Albedo. Although his shielding is kind of good. Or we have to get rid of Al-Haytham because he... well, you know what? Let's do this. Let's bring in... yeah, wait, she's not a healer. I think what we're gonna do, we're gonna bring in Kokomi, because Kokomi is basically Yoda from Star Wars. Was Hades the one that said he likes Resident Evil 4 that much? When did Hades say that? I don't remember Hades saying that he likes Resident Evil 4. Was Hades, were you asking about Resident Evil 4? I think Ray was the one that was asking about Resident Evil 4. Yeah, I don't think Ray, you were the one that was asking about Resident Evil 4, not Hades. Where is this thing? Is this thing underground? I can't find the bird. Oh, you know what? It's probably underground. This desert place is really weird. There's a boss. That's a boss in there. I don't want to fight that. I guess we have no choice. We have to go down here. And I have to go find the bird. Man, these things are going to be annoying to look for because they're so spread out. Okay, that was a mistake. That doesn't even... Wait, is there another path? Okay, it's over here. Gameplay is so smooth. What FPS am I getting? I don't know. It doesn't really matter because Genshin... Alright, let's get Al-Hatham in here. He's going in. And for those wondering, we are gaming on... Well, I mean, the PC is literally in the description. So I don't need to explain the system specs every single time. So this is on a 7900 XTX graphics card. And everything that you guys see on stream, the video encoding is done using the graphics card. So the Radeon 7900 XTX is what's doing the video rendering. Wait, no, where is this thing? I think it's actually above us. How do I get out of here? Do these things drop the thing I need? Mysterious meat. Okay, that's not what I need to kill. There, that's the thing that I need to kill, I think. Yeah, this dragon? We'll have to use vaporize power. Kokomi is Yoda from Star Wars. She can never die. It's impossible for her to die. She's basically immortal. It's like this game has no sense of balance. It's like every character, like all the 5-star characters, most of them are really, really broken. Like, for instance, Kokomi is one of the most broken characters in the game. Because she's Yoda and she can never die. So it's like, you have a character in the party that literally can't die. So it's like, how can you possibly lose? How can you possibly lose when you have a character that's immortal in the group? And it's considered not cheating? Oh, you know what? Is the music too loud? If the music's too loud, I can turn it down. Did this guy drop what I need? Okay, so this guy drops what I need. So at least now I know what sort of enemy I need to be looking for. We're on a quest right now to help Dia get her souvenir from Mondstadt, from the Windbloom event. Because she's fed up of, she's tired of using the Wolf's Gravestone sword. This claymore that she's using, she's tired of using it. So she wants to use like some new claymore. So basically everybody in the party is on a mission to help her get her weapon leveled up. Her new weapon. Oh, it's like over there. But it's like way over here. So you know what we have to do? We have to call in the elevator. he calls in like a little elevator. It's like a flower that's an elevator. That's hilarious to help him scale a cliff. And then we have Spider-Man remaster moves. We can literally use web swing. Look at that, web swing, Spider-Man style. What? This game has like this game like literally like ripped off like every single game mechanic you can think of. So, is it more cost effective to get lower megahertz RAM if you're going? I would say so, definitely. Also for stability. If you do a lot of video, if you do a lot of rendering work, 128 gigabytes of RAM is totally worth it. So it depends on the use case though. If you're not really, like, don't get 128 gigabytes of RAM just to play games. That would be stupid. That would be a waste of money. But if you're gonna do a lot of video editing, especially like 4K 60 video editing, or even just 4K 30, the amount of video RAM, like, or not video RAM, the amount of video RAM does matter too, but the amount of system RAM that DaVinci Resolve and Adobe Premiere can use scales with however much RAM you have. So I would never say that 128 gigabytes of RAM is a waste, but if you're just playing games, then yeah, that's a big waste. So like MetPrism saying you don't think I would get DDR5 128 gig. Yeah, if you don't have the use case for it, then obviously don't get it. Alright, watch, she's gonna, check this out, she's gonna, oh, whoa. She's gonna jump on, she's gonna get on the elevator. If she can. Okay, never mind, you know what, that's wasting time, let's do this. Man, this game has such good battle music. She's just gonna keep punching this thing with her fists. She's like, I got a giant claymore, but I don't need to use it. Man, this song is a banger. The other thing too I like about Genshin doesn't demonetize you if you play like the music from the game. That like, I guess it's because it's made by a Chinese company, so it's like they don't really care about copyright law for just something like music in the background. You haven't seen my Chrome tab. Yeah, I mean, like, again, right? It's all about use case. It's always about use case. Like, if you're just playing games, then 32 gigabytes is enough. I would consider, so I personally consider 32, so this is the way I consider computers in 2023. 16 gigs is minimum. 32 gigs is the standard. 64 gigs is the recommended. And 128 gigs is overkill, future-proof, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of where we're at today. Oh, these guys. Bandits. Look at all that reaction damage. All those numbers. I don't know what happened. I just like went through the bottom of the map, or I fell off the platform somehow, but they all died. I like that little elevator. I like the Spider-Man ability. I really like the game, the use of like that Spider-Man ability. Is this the thing? No. Okay, we need to fight this big boy over here. This is a weird looking. This is like a scorpion. This counts? Seems like a fun game. Yeah, this game. This game? Yeah, this game is really fun, actually. For what it is, it's actually a pretty good game. It's like one of the best games to just play casually. You know, like, you just log in, you do, like, your 4 daily things. There's always some kind of event going on. It's very much like an MMO. It's like, I kind of treat this game like... Think of it like an MMO light. Like a light MMO. Because there's no big city hubs. There's no way to, like, group up with, like, a whole bunch of players. You can form a group of, like, a party of 4. It's kind of the max size. The game has really good music, though. Like, in my opinion, out of all the games that I've played, like, in the last 3 years, Genshin Impact has one of the best soundtracks. Like, every year they add an expansion. Can you have a party in Genshin? Yeah, so you can group up with people. Like, you can have a party of up to 4 players together. And you can all, like, do quests together in the game world. So it's like, yeah, you can play solo, you can play multiplayer, you can do co-op, all that's in here. There's no PvP, because PvP in this game would be extremely broken, because the characters, like I said earlier, some of the characters, like this girl right here, she's basically Yoda from Star Wars. She can never die. She's she's a healer, but her heals are so broken. And her damage is also, like, actually really good. So she's basically, like Yoda from Star Wars. She can't die. She never loses, etc. So you can't really do, like, PvP in a game like this. It just wouldn't make any sense. There's too many characters that are just way, way OP. And also, the fact that there's elements. So it's like, like this girl, she's pyro, so her element is fire. This game is big on the elemental system. So it's like fire, and then water, ice, thunder, earth, dendro, which is basically nature. So think of like druids from WoW and like nature damage. That's basically what this guy does. He has like a scouter from Frieza and the Ginyu Force. So he can literally like teleport around and just go like that, while dealing nature damage. And then it has the whole Legend of Zelda. It's got like the Zelda exploration style. What's this? I just randomly stumble across something. I don't know what this is though. Love that nature damage. Yeah, I don't know how to get, it shows that there's like a star on the map though. Some weird Egyptian music starts playing, I'm out. It's like, it starts summoning some like optional boss, like I'm out. Oh, now we walked into a sandstorm. There's a big sandstorm over here, uh-oh. Oh, there it is. I can't get to it though. So there's no way for me to get to that. I have to figure out how to control the weather. There's a lot of sand dunes. It's basically the movie Dune, like all over the place. This is basically the movie Dune, and now I messed myself up. He landed on a tree branch, so he didn't take any fall damage. That's hilarious. Oh, they're throwing rocks at me now. They don't like that. They don't like me coming over here. Mushrooms. Alright, so we need to get out of here. There's a treasure chest. There's some secret hidden stuff right here. Like, I have to make this thing become real so that I can hit it with pyro. So, you know, there's like all kinds of like puzzles and stuff like that. Oh, Marcelo's here. Now we are going to have to play Resident Evil. We are going to actually have to play Resident Evil now. Anyway, so let me go find this thing that I'm trying to hunt. But this game has like Monster Hunter World type like gameplay as well. Let me see, is this gonna work? Huh? His little elevator flower thing like actually made me tall enough to reach the thing. That's hilarious. And then you have time attacks, like this is a time attack. We gotta do a Spider-Man thing right here. There's a giant golem right there. Uh-oh, I missed one. Now I need to go back. I can't get to that one, though. Did I miss one? Oh, right there. Oh, right there. Oh, you can! Okay, so that means all you have to do is to get these, you have to just wait for the sandstorm to subside or weaken. That's cool. So that means I can actually get this. So let me just make him taller so we have a better chance of getting this thing. Because I'm trying to collect these. It's like trying to collect the Dragon Balls in Dragon Ball Z. Alright. It's very easy to get distracted exploring in this game. Cause see, it's like as I run around, I'm constantly seeing a bunch of things to get. Like, even the tumbleweeds can drop random things. Then there's this thing again, which is probably, this is probably a weird puzzle. So this is probably more involved than those other ones. We're just gonna skip this one. Everybody's saying hey to Hades. And apparently Hades is like the biggest fan of Resident Evil 4. I don't know why. I don't know. Apparently you are, Hades. You're like the #1 fan of Resident Evil 4. Yeah, we're gonna be taking a look at the Resident Evil 4 demo here in a little bit. And then if the stream is gonna go really, really long, well, we'll see. I kind of wanted to talk about advice for people building a PC for the very first time. Although, I don't know if we really need to talk about that. Because I already have like 2 or 3 different videos on how to build a PC on the channel. Man, this guy's like way over here. I really don't like hunting these things. They're all way too far. They're way spread apart. Man, see, look at that. The game world. This game has a pretty good game world. The desert region. This region is actually pretty new. Like, it was only added, I think, like 2 patch cycles ago. PC building. Yeah, there's only a couple things. Like, I was thinking today what we could talk about. One of the things is the different parts of the computer and like what they're similar to in terms of, you know, like the power supply is kind of the heart, the CPU is the brain, that kind of thing. The motherboard is like the muscular system. I'm not sure what the power of the motherboard is. I mean, maybe the skeleton, but technically isn't the case the skeleton? I guess the case is the skin. If we're comparing a human body and a computer, like, the case is the skin, and then the motherboard is the skeletal system. I think that's probably more accurate. And the power supply is the heart and the circulatory system, because the power cables, all the PCIe cables, for example, those are kind of like the veins and the arteries. The motherboard is the spinal cord. Okay, yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so skeletal system. Yeah, that makes sense. Man, this is like way up here. There's no way I'm running across the desert just to get to that. We're fast traveling. And then it puts me in some weird underground area. Okay, I didn't expect to be dropped way over here. Now we're being chased by an alligator. Where's the actual enemy? There's a fishing spot. Is that it? Oh, this must be it. Yeah, this thing is really annoying to hunt. There's just too few of them, and they're just way too far away from each other. She has way too much heal. Her healing. Oh, this thing. Oh, it actually. I failed to set the thing off. This game has a very different feel compared to Fatal Frame. I'll tell you that. That much is pretty much clear to me. Finally. It took forever. At least this thing drops a good amount of the material that I actually need. But not this. I need to upgrade. The whole reason why we're doing this is because of this new weapon. I want to level this up. Okay, we can level it up now. So that took it to level 70. I want to get it all the way to level 90. So we're still going to need more of these. And we're still going to need 2 more of these. And 6 of those. So I need to make 4. Can I make 4 of that thing? Probably. And I think we're out of time. Well, I mean, we're out of hunts because I don't know where the rest of those things are. And none of them show up on the map anymore. So we're going to have to craft the rest of the stuff. You were watching an Adored TV video today, and he said in about 5 years the motherboard will no longer exist. What do you think about that? See, that's really going to depend on... That's really going to depend on how servers change in the next 5 years. I don't know if the motherboard's actually going to go away. Did he really say that? I didn't watch the video, so I don't know if he actually said that. I'd have to watch the video. Alright, we're gonna need, I think, 5 of these. Okay, and then I need a bunch of these. Just probably craft all of them. Dory, give me back 25% chance. Alright, what did I say? I needed 4 more? Oh, just in time. Oh wait, I need 6 of the blue, like, thing from Inazuma. See, this game has a crafting system, so we're gonna have to make, like, 6 of these. I'd rather just have Dory refund the higher percentage for the lower tier thing, so, because it's more successful. Higher chance. And there we go, level 80. Okay, so I need 2 of these, 18 of those, so that's gonna be another time, 12 of those. So let's see if I can make 12 of those and 2 of the gold. 2 of these, come on, 10% chance, 10% chance. Okay, I failed, so I need 1 more, so I need 3 of these. 10% chance. 10% chance, he came through, Albedo came through. 10% chance? For a double? Okay, so we're good there, and then we just need like 20 of this thing. So we're gonna need like a whole bunch of these. I'm running really low on these because I don't normally farm these things because they're from Inazuma and I don't really go there anymore. So we need 5 more. Here's 1. I need 4 more, so 4 times 3 is 12. I'll need 12 more of these things. There. Okay, so now the only thing that's still needed is gonna be the thing that we were hunting earlier. The marked shell, so that those can only be found from these guys, which are all dead. So, well, they're not all dead because this game doesn't show you where all of them are. You kind of have to memorize the spawn points. So, oh, I actually went overkill on that. I only needed 12. Oops. Oh well. So 18 of these. Like, how many can I actually craft? If any. Okay. 1. So I need 17 more. Alright, well that's gonna be another time, I guess. I need to remember to do that, like, within the next 2 days. Because I don't... the reason why you want to do this now is because of this event. See at the top? Receives a weapon enhancement EXP bonus. So I can level this thing up for, like, a much reduced cost. So that's the reason why I want to get this done. Get it to level 90, max it out before the event ends. So we already have the rank 5. So that's... seems like it's pretty decent. I don't know if to test it, but for now we're just going to go back to the Wolf's Gravestone. You're still rocking the 10th gen Comet Lake? CPUs will no longer need motherboards because of AMD's 3D V-Cache technology. How does that eliminate the motherboard though? The motherboard has nothing to do with the V-Cache. I have 5 days to do this. I'll have to do this like tomorrow or something. So what's left? What is the only thing left I have to do? Oh, I have to finish this thing. Nine days left to do this. Sucrose.
旅人さん、バイモン。
You have 10700K. Realistically, in my mind, anybody who is on like Zen 3 or Rocket Lake, they probably don't need to do much in terms of upgrading for the next few years. Although, the only problem is the lack of a DDR5 upgrade path. That's kind of the limiting factor, you know, because those who are on DDR5 today don't really need to do anything in terms of upgrading until, like, Zen 5. Because it's just gonna, like, if you're on AM5 today, it's a drop-in socket update. And then if you're on, like, Alder Lake, you don't really need to do anything either. I mean, yeah, it's kind of stuck. It's like, you can go to the 13th gen, but it's not really going to be that much of a difference. It's not really going to amount to a noticeable difference compared to the Alder Lake. So... 10850. Are all three of you on Z490 or are you on Z590? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna do this some other time. So let's transition now to something else. Where's... Hold on. Let me bring up paint or something. Paint. Where's my paint? There. There's paint. Okay, paint's up. Hold on. Let's get out of Genshin. Was the music in Genshin too loud? How many Primo Gems do I have? 3,800. Okay. So we're getting in there. Your RAM can't get to 3,600? So are all... Okay, so Hades, Ray, both are on Z490. What about Met Prism? Is Met Prism? I remember you telling me you were on... Were you on Z590? Or were you on Z490? No, I think you're on Z490. I think all three of you are on Z490. So what motherboard do you guys have? Is it like an Asus motherboard? Gigabyte motherboard? ASRock? Can't leave ASRock out. And don't forget about MSI. You have MSI... Oh, you have Z590. What? You have Z590. So you actually have an upgrade path. The other two don't have an upgrade path, but you actually have... Or did we talk about this? I think we talked about this, didn't we? Hold on. I think we talked about this. Hades says Z490 Hero. Hold on. Z590A Pro. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. You have this motherboard? Hold on. Wait, what? Am I sharing this? Hold on. Where is it? There it is. Oh, because paint's in the way. There we go. So you have this. This thing is... Support. Manual. Multi-language. Why did they make this look like this? Oh, it's blinding us. We're all being blind. Okay, hold on. Look, check this out. Check this out. This motherboard is awesome. Met Prism wins automatically. Best motherboard. Supports 10th gen and 11th gen. You have access to Rocket Lake. You have access to Rocket Lake. Supports dual channel. 2 PCI X16 supports. Look, check this out. You have the capability to go to PCI Gen 4 on this motherboard if you upgrade to Rocket Lake. Oh man, if that was me, it was a no-brainer. I'd go and get that 11700K at Micro Center, or 11900K if those still exist. I saw them at Best Buy the other day. Best Buy, my local Best Buy still has 11900Ks for sale. Man, you have PCI 4 capability. That means that you can actually test PCI 4 on Intel DDR4 against your 5700X Ryzen, which already has PCI Gen 4. Still supports AMD Crossfire. Yeah. Well, yeah, all of them do, though. Like, all the motherboards support Crossfire. Okay, the new ones support Crossfire, but realistically, the only ones that could actually pull it off properly are the X670E that has two, has the X16 and the X8. Like, realistically, the vast majority of motherboards today don't have the X8, so you're going to have to run that second GPU through the chipset, which is not going to be good. Because it's only going to be like X4 at best. So, but you actually have a motherboard that supports 11th gen Rocket Lake. Intel gigabit, 2.5 gigabit LAN. Intel Wi-Fi 6E. This thing has Wi-Fi 6E? Oh, yeah, that's right. Because this motherboard was made in, 2021. This motherboard is from 2021. It's only, 2 years old. It's literally 2 years old, this motherboard. It's not even that old. So, that's why, if it was me, I would just go straight up to Rocket Lake. If I were you, I would go 5800X3D and or 11700K or maybe 11900K, but that's just going to be a waste of electricity and doesn't really perform that much better. So, I don't know, something like that. So, to me, that kind of seems like that's the smart move because you basically get the longevity out of the motherboard. Still, same thinking of going. 13700K is good, but you're gonna have to do a full system upgrade though. You're gonna have to buy a new motherboard, and you're gonna have to buy DDR5 RAM. I mean, technically, yeah, you could go DDR4 on 13700K, but I personally don't recommend that. Because I ran the 12700K on DDR4 and I never liked it. Wouldn't be a downgrade to go from 10 to 8? I don't know. I personally would probably go with Rocket Lake myself over Comet Lake. Just because of the Gen 4. Because you gotta remember, with this, okay, does this motherboard have a... Yeah, see, look. This motherboard has a M.2_1 slot from the CPU. Available only on 11th gen CPU. And it supports PCI Gen 4. So you can't even do PCI Gen 4 SSDs on this motherboard unless you upgrade to Rocket Lake. So I would... If it was me, 10-core Comet Lake versus 8-core Rocket Lake, I would just go Rocket Lake. The 2 cores, the 4-thread loss is a 10-core realistically isn't really significantly better in multi-thread versus a 8-core, so you're not really losing that much. And I don't know, the way I see it, Rocket Lake stands to age better than Comet Lake because Rocket Lake has AVX 512 support. Rocket Lake is Intel's new architecture, which is basically what Raptor Lake and Alder Lake are based off of. And I just see things a lot of compilers being more optimized for Rocket Lake's architecture versus Comet Lake, because Comet Lake is a derivative of Skylake. So, you see what I'm saying? So there's stuff. The extra cores don't matter. Yeah, exactly. That's the reason why I kind of think that the Rocket Lake's better. Wait, 10700K is an 8-core. Yeah. So the 10900K was a 10-core, 20-thread. But it's like, it's a bunch of like Skylake cores. So it's like, yeah, okay, I guess. I don't know. I would, if I had this motherboard, I would get Rocket Lake on clearance, because there was clearance deals at Micro Center all the time for the CPU. I mean, you can even find these at like Best Buy. That's kind of what I would do, but I really don't think that if you're looking for a significant upgrade in terms of like gaming performance, yeah, it would be a waste to go to Rocket Lake. You would only go to Rocket Lake if you want Gen 4. Like let's say you have a, like a Firecuda or whatever, or some Gen 4 SSD, you can't really use that with this motherboard unless you have a Rocket Lake CPU. That's all I'm saying. So meaning you're kind of like kneecapped. Your motherboard's basically bottlenecked in terms of the features because of Comet Lake. So yeah. That's the thing about this motherboard. So this is a cool motherboard though, because it's one of those that, it's weird because it enables Gen 4 like when you change to 11th gen. Like if you're on Comet Lake, you're stuck on Gen 3. But if you go to like even your graphics card, right? Because like a lot of people don't think about this. Like if somebody goes and puts in like an AMD 7900 XTX or an Intel Arc A770, on this motherboard, Intel Arc A770 is severely bottlenecked because now it's stuck at PCI Gen 3. Not only does it need resizable bar, but it also really benefits from having the Gen 4 bandwidth, more so than AMD and NVIDIA cards. So it's like, yeah, Arc on this, to me, doesn't really look very appealing. So yeah. That's the thing you guys have to keep in mind. Like the Rocket Lake literally unlocks the full potential of this motherboard. You get Gen 4 for your graphics card. You get Gen 4 for your storage. In fact, you can't even use this storage slot if you have a Comet Lake CPU. So I never liked Comet Lake. I never even liked Coffee Lake, to be honest. But yeah. So that's why I stuck with Haswell 4770K since forever. Went to Ryzen and then just kept upgrading Ryzen in-socket upgrades over and over again, and then just Intel was just kind of forgotten until Alder Lake came out, and I'm like, okay, finally something new. Like Rocket Lake, the reason why I never considered 11th gen Intel was because it launched like a few months after Zen 3, and it kind of lost to Zen 3 on all fronts. It used more electricity, so it heats up the room more. It actually kind of loses most of the time in games, but it is kind of on par. But it would lose more than it would win against like a 5800X, for example. So that's why I just kind of forgot about Rocket Lake and the Z590. And then Alder Lake came out, and I'm like, okay, that's intriguing because they have this weird heterogeneous architecture now with these tiny little cores that are basically like giant Skylake cores, but they got shrunk by some electron micro gun or something. So that's how I always thought about like Intel CPU architectures. So, but in terms of the upgrade, yeah, I would say this, if you can find a good deal on an 11700K or an 11900K, I would totally get one of those, because that gives you the full, that basically lets you do a lot more with your motherboard. Comet Lake chokes on Star Citizen. Every CPU except for a Vcache CPU chokes on Star Citizen, though. In fact, I want to see that one British guy do that video. I'm waiting to see him put up that video for Star Citizen for 7950X 3D, because the 5800X3 was the best CPU for Star Citizen. But I kind of think now with the Zen 4 3D V cache, the 7950X3D is now the best one. We'll see. 7800X3D is probably going to be the best one, though. So this motherboard is actually pretty good, though. For what you get, it's pretty good. So that's why I wanted to point this one out in particular. The Z590A Pro. Yeah, look at that. Look at that giant heatsink on that M.4 SSD. You can't even use that. You can't even use that. It's just sitting there going to waste. Maybe. I don't recognize the channel name. I just know, like, he's the one guy that always tests, like, CPUs and GPUs for Star Citizen. And that's how the 5800X3D got, like, a cult following in the Star Citizen player base crowd because of his videos on it. So yeah, in terms of, like, upgrade, though, you know, like, we have a timeline here. Here we go again with a timeline. 2020. We'll start with 2020 because we're gonna do this decade. 2020, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll just do 9. Okay, so 2010. 2010, that's not what I wanted to do. Hold on, 2020, 2021, 2022. Do I need to draw the dark times again? Do we need to include the dark times on here? The dark times. 2024, 2025, 2026, 7, 8, and 9. Our AM5 boards, man, they're way down. They're way down. They keep on adding more, like, B650 boards. You save these I've saved some of them. I haven't saved all of them, but you know what? I probably should save every single one of them. I really wish I saved the one with the ocean drawing and Japan off the coast of New York. I really wish I saved that one. That was a special one. But yeah, so 2020, like, what was significant about this year? I mean, we already kind of talked about it. 2020 was the beginning of the dark times. So the dark times started in 2020, you know, kind of in, like, the end of Q1, and then the dark times held strong throughout all of 2021, and then went into 2022, and then like right around May, June, like, it was in, like, the second half of 2022, the dark times kind of, like, trailed off, and that was it. So that was an era known as the dark times. But the thing is, 2020 had, like, so many product launches. A ton of product launches. What did we get first? What was the very first one? The very first one of 2020 was RTX 30 series. Then what came? That was September. September of 2020. RTX 30 series. Then what showed up? Then we got Ryzen 5000 series. So we got Zen 3. Then, actually, you know what? I kind of left one out. I left one out, guys. Comet Lake. Comet Lake was 2020. 10th Jan. Comet Lake was the very first thing, because this thing came out, like, in, like, Q1 or something, or Q2 of 2020. It was like the dark times started. Comet Lake comes in like a comet hitting the Earth and ushers in the dark times. Then we got 30 series, like, in September. Then we got Ryzen 5000 series in, like, October or something, around November, somewhere around there. And then what did we get? PS5, Xbox Series X. Well, Series. We'll just say that because there's S and X. Okay, PS5, Xbox Series, and then what was last but not least? Radeon 7. No. 6000 series. We got RDNA 2. So we got RDNA 2. I'll just put RDNA 2. RDNA 2 was at the very end, like November, December. Like literally the PS5 launches and then 6800 XT launches like right next to it. And they're constantly, instantly gobbled up by scalpers and bots and everyone and the crypto people and everybody all at once. And then the very end of the year, December 8th, 6900 XT. So 6900 XT is like the cool guy bringing up the rear of the line, just walking by. It's like, I'm out, see you guys. And then the scalpers like grab him. So that was basically 2020. So this was 2020 in a nutshell. We're going to move that over there. So 2021. What happened in 2021? 2021 was a time where if you wanted an RTX 3080, you were spending $2,000. Okay, so that was 2021. 2021, we got in March 3080 Ti. 3080 Ti launches MSRP $1,200, but it sells for like $3,200. Okay, that was the first thing. Then there was 11th gen. Intel Rocket Lake. 11th, well, we'll just say 11th gen. 11th gen comes out. Nobody cares. Gamers Nexus calls it a waste of sand. The Thanos snap, whatever. But it's still there. And it's like, okay, you guys hate on me, but I'm cool. I got AVX 512. You guys don't. That's fine. Okay, that's 11th gen. What else happened in this year? Besides a lot of terrible things with supply shortages and scalpers and bots basically destroying PC gaming for an entire year. RTX 3090s go for like $3,000 on eBay in 2021. RTX 3060 Tis go for like $900. Everybody is complaining today about a 7900 XT having an MSRP of $900. But newsflash, 2 years ago, 3060 Ti was the same amount of money. Okay? Have people forgotten the dark times? So when I'm calling this the dark times, you guys have to remember what the price of graphics cards were in this era. And the fact that you had to wait forever for these things to ever show up at Micro Center. And then even the retailers, Newegg, this was an era, like 2021 in my mind. I've said this in a previous stream, but I'm going to say it again for the newer viewers. 2021 was an era of watching Jake Randall live streams if you wanted to buy a PS5, or watching Fix It streams with the John Travolta meme. Like John Travolta meme stream, if you wanted like a graphics card or whatever. And then like Newegg Shuffle, Best Buy subscription services, Geek Squad subscription, like all this type of nonsense. That is the essence of 2021. 2021. The 3080 was selling. No, it was going for way more than that. You're talking 2022 prices. You're talking 2022 prices. You're talking like late 2021, early 2022. The height of 2021, RTX 3080 was going for like $2,000. You know what was going for $1,500 on eBay? 6900 XT. That's what was going for $1,500 in 2021. But even the retailers, Newegg, Micro Center, they were all capitalizing on it. Micro Center was okay with selling 3060 Ti's for $900 and 6900 XTs for $1,500, $1,600. Basically, if you wanted a 6900 XT from a retailer, you were spending as much on a 4090. You were paying 4090 prices for a 6900 XT in 2021. Okay, so what else? So 11th gen, 3080 Ti, meme streams, John Travolta, Jake Randall. What else was this year? Like that year just sounds so messed up on so many levels. You got Waste of Sand 11th gen coming in. It's like, hey guys, and then just fades into obscurity, covered up by like massive expensive graphics card prices. So I'm trying to think, like, what else happened this year? Oh, okay. So we get toward the end of the year. There is no 1060 Ti. What? There's no 1060 Ti. Software is talking about 1660 Ti. 1660 Ti. $350 for... Oh, 1660 Ti. 1660 Ti for the price of a almost as much as a PlayStation 4. A PS4 Pro. Anyway. Okay, we get to Q4. Remember what I said? Q4 is when everything happens. Q4 is where it all comes crashing down. Q4 2021, what shows up? 12th gen. 12th gen comes in November 4th, 2021. Alder Lake finally comes in. It's like 11th gen's like, hey guys, I have AVX512. Alder Lake literally like shoves Rocket Lake to the side and is like, I'm here guys, I'm here. Check it out, DDR5. We got DDR5. DDR5 enters the market with Alder Lake together and PCI Gen 5 on the graphics card, not on the storage, but on the graphics card with Z690 motherboards. So you get Z690 and you get Z590 in the exact same year. Oh yeah, and the very first Tom Peterson interview was in like the fall or like late summer of 2021. Yeah, that's right. I still remember listening to Tom Peterson's interview with Hot Hardware and whoever else interviewed him. PC World or someone else interviewed him back in like 2021 or something, like way back, with Lisa Pierce from Intel. Lisa and Tom were on the show with the people, and they're like, oh, ARC is coming, it's really good, okay. And then it never was really that good. You just ended up waiting a whole nother year. We got that awesome trailer in March of 2022 of the Intel Arc A770. You know what I'm saying? Like the awesome trailer, like the super good one. Where is that trailer? Now we gotta play the trailer for everybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about. Like my favorite, like GPU trailer. Where is it at? Am I gonna get demonetized for this? Please don't get demonetized for this stupid song from Intel. Don't demonetize me. I'm not gonna risk it. Because I got demonetized when I played that one video that showed that factory of Zotac making graphics cards when we covered the cooler for the 700 XT. But anyway, this is the trailer. We got this trailer in March 2022. I remember it vividly. It was my favorite trailer. It was so cool. I'm like, here we go. Intel's coming in. This thing's gonna be awesome. You know, take my money meme. Take my money meme. And it's like, nope, it never showed up. Month after month, it never showed up. I said July. They missed the boat. I said August. They missed the boat again. Then I said, okay, guys, I don't know when it's coming, probably Q4. And then guess what? It shows up on the same day as the RTX 4090. So, but that's 2022. That was toward the end of the dark times. But basically, that was 2021. So 2021 versus 2020, this had a ton of stuff. This had like things that nobody cared about. No one cares about this. No one cared about this. Some people cared about this. No one cared about DDR5. It was way too expensive. If you wanted 32 gigs of DDR5 back when Alder Lake came out, you were paying $500. You were paying $500 for 32 gigabytes of RAM in 2021. If you wanted 64 gigs of RAM, you were spending close to $800 on RAM. So, like I said, nobody cared about DDR5 in 2021. That is the reason why almost everybody who is running an Alder Lake 12th gen Intel are running it with DDR4 memory. So it was very smart of Intel to include backwards compatibility. Early adopter tax, yeah, that's some tax. That's some tax. And then PCI Gen 5, nobody cared because there were no graphics cards that could do it. And you could only do it on the graphics card because there were no storage drives. And Z690 motherboards had no M.2 slots that were Gen 5. So, realistically, the only thing that stood out in 2021 was Alder Lake. But it was hit with super expensive memory. So everybody cheaped out, myself included, and went with DDR4. And it was like, yeah, okay. You kneecap it with DDR4, so it doesn't get the memory bandwidth that it benefits from. So it was like, it's kind of okay. But realistically, this is the reason why, these issues with early adopter tax was the reason why, when you compare a 12900K to a Ryzen 5950X in multi-thread, they were pretty close. And in some cases, the 5950X was still faster. Because almost everybody was running Alder Lake with DDR4. So, it's the same memory. It's like, okay, these things are pretty much the same still. In gaming, because of the new architecture, because of the IPC, yeah, this thing would win out. But, in the high core count situations, it wouldn't really stand out in any significant manner. And then everybody would just harp on how much electricity it would use and just make fun of it in terms of efficiency. When in reality, Alder Lake was a really weird launch because it ran really hot. It was hard to cool, but it wasn't insanely brokenly hard to cool like Raptor Lake is. But it was still kind of a mess in my mind. I remember looking at 12900K reviews. I'm like, yeah, no, that's kind of a dumb nuclear reactor. I'm just going to get the 12700K instead for gaming. And that's what I ended up doing. And I paired it up with DDR4. And I'm like, okay, right next to my 5800X is this thing is not really that good. And then I run into issues with the stupid E-cores causing Final Fantasy XIV to crash. Unless I went into the BIOS and shut them all off. And that's a whole nother story. I kind of ranted about that in several streams in the past. So just Alder Lake in general didn't really do a whole lot for me. Where is Fatal Frame? We'll get to Fatal Frame in a little bit. We're just kind of talking about the dark times, the cursed times. And then we're going to talk about the future and gaming and all that stuff. But we're going to get to Fatal Frame. Not the best FPS, but it's playable. What are we talking about? Have you tested it? Has anyone seen an Intel Arc Mobile? You mean an A380? That's not really a mobile part, though. A350M? Yeah, not the... Okay. So anyway, that was 2021. 2022 was better in a significant way. So in 2022... what was the first thing, the thing that made the headlines? The very first thing that was announced at the beginning of the year. 2022, CES, all that stuff. Does anybody remember? Jeff so-and-so, it was a guy named Jeff whatever from NVIDIA. He got up on his little video and said something. And one more thing. Remember what he said, guys? And one more thing. Where's that box at? I don't have it here right now. And one more thing. the RTX 3090 Ti. So we got 3090 Ti in 2022. The final Ampere GPU. The fully unlocked, fully unleashed 450 watt TDP. Samsung's node, 8 nanometer node at its finest. Throwing energy efficiency to the wind. To win at all costs. All the limiters have been unlocked and removed. 3090 Ti. MSRP, $2,000. This thing sold on eBay for over $3,000. Instantly, well, I don't know about instantly. This thing was really weird. Like, this thing came out, it was like announced, and then it never showed up, and then like, you would see the price, it was like $2,000, and then it was never really a thing. So it was almost like a, what do you call it, like a paper launch or a vaporware or whatever. So it was kind of a joke, although it was technically the fastest thing, even though no one could get their hands on one, or would you even want one of these things. So I eventually did get one when they were on clearance at Best Buy, like way back in like, what was it, August or September, whenever that was. Like it was before 40 series was available is when I got one, but it was like at the end of the year. It was like definitely like, I think August. I think it was August is when I got this thing. I'm pretty sure. I got both of them at the same time. They're both on clear, like within like 3 days apart of each other. Because this was back when like Best Buy lifted their ban, where it's like you couldn't, like if you wanted to buy a graphics card from Micro Center or Best Buy, they would ask to see your driver's license. They wanted a copy of your driver's license if you wanted to buy a graphics card. Because what they were going to do is they're going to ban you from being able to come back in the store and buy another graphics card for the next 30 days. So, but I think when I got mine, I was weary of them doing that because I was like, okay, I bought 3080 Ti because the sales guy at Best Buy said that I should just get one of those and don't waste money on 3090 Ti. But I was like, but wait a minute, there's only like a $200 difference between them. Even though originally it was more like an $800 difference between them if you're going by the original MSRP. So anyway, bottom line is I ended up getting one of those, or both of them, within like 3 days of each other. I think I got like the 3080 on like a Friday evening, and then I got like the 3090 like on a Sunday or something. So it was like 2 days later I go back in and I get like 3090 Ti. So anyway, 3090 Ti, you know, it is what it is. Where's the flood of mining cards? People still hoarding them. So during this time, 2022 was where that started happening. So if you notice, like right here on the slope, on the downward slope, this is where Ethereum, it was like in July or August, Ethereum finally went proof of stake. And that is what crushed the mining market. And that's when you saw people start offloading their GPUs on eBay en masse, and that was when it all came crashing down. So that's basically 2022 is when that happened. So 3090 Ti was kind of a dumb launch, but it was a thing. 3080 Ti FE is that the cooler was underbuilt for that high end. Yeah, because it was like a 350 watt TDP on like a tiny little 2-slot rinky-dink cooler. So it was like, yeah, not really going to work out too well. Probably the worst GPU I've ever purchased, considering how much money I spent on it. At least I got it at the clearance Best Buy price, not some stupid like scalper price, because I would have never bought one then. Or even the original MSRP. But yeah. Well, it proves its use for like videos comparing GPUs, I guess. So 3090 Ti, and then what else? So basically everything. So Q4 hit. Very, very end of Q3, we got Ryzen 7000. That was like September 27th, if I remember. And then we got ARC and 4090 in October. Like they were both on the exact same day. So like Arc finally shows up and 4090 shows up together. And then 13th gen shows up like a week or two after them in October. Like all that stuff was like in the same month. Like Arc, 4090, and 13th gen all launched in the same month. Like and technically Ryzen 7000 also was in the same time frame because it was like September 27th, so it was basically October. So all four of these things just all kind of launched in the same month. I remember going to Micro Center like so many times in that 1 month that I was considered a regular. Like everybody knew me and they were all like, "Oh, he's here again. Uh-oh. That means there's going to be another line outside the store." Because that means there's going to be a product launch. Here it comes. Get ready, guys. Commission, sales day, get that money. So it's like, that was what was happening in Micro Center in Q4. And then I remember like the sales manager or the store manager was talking to me and she was telling me like, I really wish that the manufacturers, all these vendors, would stagger their product launches a little bit further apart from each other because it's really tough on the retail. And I'm like, yeah, it is. The only people that like it are the sales guys on the field or on the floor who get commission because they show up to work and they're just making a lot of money that day. But it's like everybody else, like the people who work the cashiers or the cash registers, all that stuff, or the merchandisers, man, it's terrible. Like, it's terrible when all this stuff just, like, shows up on the same, like, in week after week. It's like, okay, we got Ryzen this week. Next week, we got Arc and 4090. And then the week after that, we got 13th gen. And, like, a few weeks after that, we have 4080. And then, like, you know, then RDNA 3 hits. So it's like, it's like a non-stop thing. So then we had, Arc, or not Arc, RDNA 3. Oh, and actually, if you want to like get really technical, you did get 6950 XT and basically the refresh stuff. So like 6750 XT, 6650 XT. All these things also launched together that year, which is kind of weird. So meaning Nvidia wasn't the only one to go and like throw out some other thing. Like AMD went and did their like super stuff like right here in 2022. So yeah, it was like 5 to 10% better or something like that. Yeah, considering how they still had like so much inventory of the other ones, like the base spec. But bottom line is there was like a whole bunch of stuff in that year. So a lot of product launches. So when you look at the trend, this trend going into this new decade, now granted we're already in 2023, but if you're trying to analyze the product launch cycle for new generation hardware, it becomes clear that the even years are the upgrade years. These look like upgrade years because these are the years where the big new stuff comes out. You notice that? This is where the big new stuff comes out. I mean, technically 10th gen, but, you know, whatever. That's like Skylake plus at this point. So technically, I guess Intel's the only one. Well, Intel's kind of weird because it's like they went and did this, and then that was there, and then this was here. But I don't know. Intel's the one that's kind of off doing their own thing. Because they'll go and they'll launch. Typically, Intel, if we follow Intel's traditional launch cycle, they usually launch things in Q2. Their new products get announced in Q1, like at CES, and then they get launched in like April, May, June. That's usually how they used to do it. And then for the big HEDT, it was typically the summer. Is when they would launch the big, like, X79, X99, X299, all that stuff. So now it's kind of weird. Like Intel kind of does their own thing, you know, like Comet Lake follows the traditional model when it was launched. Rocket Lake also follows the traditional model, but in the last couple of years, like Alder Lake broke that mold. Alder Lake was more like a Coffee Lake launch. It just kind of like double launched, and then they went with 13 gen. And at the end of the year, when they probably, well, I guess they couldn't do it so early because this was, you know, like November of that year. So I don't know. Intel's been the one. What this tells me is Intel's the one that's having the hardest time right now. Like, Arc got pushed time and time again. It got delayed. They double launched because one of them fell flat. And then, like, now this guy has to be held back because, you know, you don't want to, like, cannibalize Alder Lake. And technically now they have a problem where it's like nobody wants to buy Alder Lake. You never see these things selling in Micro Center anymore. So, and they weren't really selling that much. Like, the only other thing too that I forgot to mention here, probably one of the biggest things that came out in 2022 was the 5800X 3D. I completely forgot about that. But that was like May of the year. So it was like around, like right after these guys launched. We'll just put it here. So, like, Alder Lake came out and was like, okay, yeah, it's cool, Intel's back, but then, okay, this guy comes out a few months later. So it's one of those things where it's like, you gotta think about it like this. AMD launched Zen 3, it becomes the people's champion, Intel tries to, like, counter with Rocket Lake, it was a big flop, so, but now, then you had the opposite happen. Intel launches Alder Lake at the end of the year, and then a few months later, well, I mean, it's quite a bit later, like May, this thing comes out. So basically, this countered that, whereas this failed to counter that. See? TikTok cycle. TikTok cycle hasn't really existed for a long time at Intel, though. We still don't know if Microsoft will acquire Activision or not. Yeah. 2023. So, I guess this year, the year 2023 is going to probably be kind of a boring year. Because what do we get in 2023? We get 7950X3D, 7900X3D, 7800X3D. What else do we get? Okay, 1300KS, who cares? I'm not even going to put that on the list because that's just a really binned 1300K, so that doesn't even count. So, graphics cards, 7800 XT, 7700 XT, and 7600 XT. These are coming out this year. We did get a 4070 Ti. 4070 Ti was actually the first thing. Technically, if we want to do this the right way, 4070 Ti was first. Then we had all these like weird, you know, low power AMD processors that launched that were they basically launched right alongside the 4070 Ti and Forspoken. But we're not doing a gaming timeline, so that's going to be like a different timeline. But, you know, like all this AMD stuff is coming this year. And then I guess for NVIDIA, 4060 at some point. But the problem is, do you guys know, like, there's a rumored 3060 coming out this year? There's like a new 3060, or maybe it was a 3060 Ti. There was like a rumor of like a new 3060 coming out this year. Kind of like that dumb 2060 12 gigabyte that was totally meant for Ethereum mining. They're trying to convince the government that the Switch can run Call of Duty? What? What's inside those Tesla entertainment? Infotainment? Entertainment? Entertainment? Entertainment. The entertainment unit from Tesla. 3060 is coming out this year, guys. I don't know if that's real, but that's what I've been reading rumors of. Obviously, there's going to be a 4060 this year. And I guess there will also be a 4070 at some point. But the other thing that's coming this year is most likely 4080 Ti or Titan. Something of that class is coming this year. So basically a bunch of graphics cards that are more affordable are coming this year. In addition to like the 3D V-Cache CPUs. So in my mind, if somebody wants to buy or build or upgrade a gaming PC this year, will give them a lot of more affordable or maybe not affordable options compared to last year. Because you don't get early adopter tax. DDR5 has fallen so much in price. PCI Gen 5 SSDs are starting to show up. So, that's the other thing, too, that I forgot to mention. You know, like, this year is the year of PCIe Gen 5 storage. SSDs. PCI Gen 5 is here. PCI 4 has reached its maximum capabilities. It's the 3060 with another chip and DDR6X memory. NVIDIA loves this GPU so much. Well, they did the same thing with the 2060 12 gig, but the 2060 12 gig was really meant for mining. Like, it was meant for mining Ethereum because it had 12 gigabytes of memory. Ever heard of GeForce Now? I think that might be how Microsoft wants the Switch to run COD. There won't be a 4050 in desktop. Why not? They're just going to keep selling 3050s? Or is that what the new 3060 is supposed to be? Microsoft actually said the game can run natively somehow? Why are they trying to convince the government of that? Oh, for the acquisition? Oh my god. Intel's return to HEGT was also this year. Oh yeah. Okay, that's good. Good call out there. So we have well, that won't actually be available until later this year. But yeah, we get Sapphire Rapids, and then later in the year we're also getting Threadripper 7000. So yeah, Intel returns to HEGT this year, and AMD gets big Threadripper AM4, or I mean, Zen 4 comes to HEGT this year. Three nanometer, not this year. No. 8107 is the 4060. Is that coming this year? 4060? They have so many 3060s to sell, and they're making a new 3060. They're making a new 3060. Why are they going to sell a 4060 when they make a new 3060? Are you going to get a new Threadripper? Probably not. I don't really need one. I don't expect to need one. The whole point of me getting like the 7950X and the 3900K was so that I would use one of those two PCs to replace my old Threadripper. That was the whole idea of getting both those computers. I said it before, like, I guess I'll say it again. So, like, the Ryzen CPU, the Zen 4 CPU, well, I show this one. I actually mean this one. So, the 7950X, this replaced the 5800X for streaming. And then this processor replaced the Threadripper PC. I could have done it the other way around, but I was like, yeah, no, because it's like this thing, I just need those E-cores to be doing like the render stuff, so it's like I'll just do that. But in all honesty, almost every video that I've uploaded to YouTube and I've done the editing for in DaVinci Resolve, I've done it all on the 7950X. Like the 1300K has, I've probably rendered like, for YouTube, I've probably done like 3 videos. I've rendered 3 videos using 1300K. All the other ones on the channel are this guy. Standard 750X. 1300K is more for like back office, like virtual machines and that kind of stuff. Even though I've been reading that the 7950X is actually really good at running a lot of VMs. Microsoft already has some numbers from the Switch 2. Who knows? Is that for real? Is the Switch 2 for real? So, okay, that very good segue by mentioning the Switch 2, because that leads me into 2024. So here's what I think is going to happen in 2024. Switch 2. Switch 2 is coming next year. It's coming next year. Get ready for it. Because it's going to launch in the first half. Well, okay, I won't say that. I don't know exactly when it would launch, but I know for a fact that the Switch 2 will be announced sometime in the first half of next year. And it will probably go for sale in the early summer or the late spring. So think like June of next year or May, somewhere around there. That's when I kind of expect the Switch 2 to come out. If everything goes according to plan, that's when I expect it to be made available. But who knows? Things have been so crazy in the last few years. It's been very hard to predict when these things will actually launch. So Switch 2 is next year, though. What else is next year? Zen 5 is next year. So the next CPU from AMD that will be backwards compatible with the AM5 socket is coming next year. So that's going to be Zen 5. And then Meteor Lake should be next year as well. Assuming they haven't messed up the timeline or the roadmap where they forget about Meteor Lake and they go with whatever is supposed to come after Meteor Lake. So I don't know. Meteor Lake could probably be like another Rocket Lake, and then they end up like double launching again. I don't know. I hope they don't do that. That's kind of dumb. But that all these things are coming next year. And then what else? RTX 50 series is coming next year. And then we're also getting RDNA 4 next year. Now I don't know like how close all these things are going to be together. I don't expect the Switch 2 to be close to the others in terms of when they launch. But I really wish that the PC hardware would spread out more. I don't like when they're all within a 90-day window of each other. It's very, very annoying. See, I would have done that the other way around. I think that's backwards. I would have put the 4080 with the 5700X. The 5700X is more powerful than the 10700. And you're also kind of, well, the funny thing about that PC is you're bottlenecking, well, both of them are going to get bottlenecked by the PCI Gen 3, but like your 4080 is being bottlenecked by PCI Gen 3 on the 10700K, so at least the A770 has the full PCI Gen 4. But I would have done it the other way around. I do like the ARC with the AMD though. Like there's less problems with installing the driver when you don't have an Intel CPU. At least that's how it was at launch. I'm pretty sure like it's gotten better since then. Heard rumors Zen 5 will have 216 CCD, all 3D. I don't know. That to me that's just straight up rumor mill. I wouldn't really believe any of that at this point. It's too early. I could see them offering like an all 3D SKU though, and a hybrid SKU. But all that stuff is next year. Switch is next year. And when I say next year, I'm talking like, okay, This is like Q2. This is like Q3 or 4. I don't really know. And this is like so Meteor Lake is gonna be weird. Meteor Lake is either gonna be Q2 or Q4. Like it's either gonna be early or it's gonna be late. And then this is gonna be Q3, and this is gonna be Q4. So just to give people an idea. The thing that I'm not really sure of, or I'm not really taking into account with these predictions, is the timeline. The timelines for new hardware, the development cycle is getting longer, and it's becoming more challenging to get these upgrades on the roadmap. So, because of the whole nanometer shrinks are harder and harder to do, the cost to do these things is significantly harder and more challenging, and the fact that they're more challenging is what's driving the cost up. TSMC has been raising their prices over and over again for the past several years now. So I don't know what... That's really bad news for AMD and NVIDIA. And then Intel, on the graphics side, Intel's using TSMC. I really think Intel needs to stop using TSMC. I think that's dumb, and it's making Intel look really bad and incompetent. For a company that has so much money and their own fabs and their own like engineers, I think it's kind of a joke that they have to go to TSMC and beg them for capacity on an already overused node to make Intel Arc graphics cards. They really need to do all that stuff in-house. Like, there's something wrong at Intel, like, when it comes to... I don't know. I really don't know what happened. They're having problems, though. Imagine they switch to Samsung. No, they're not going to do that. Although, I really think that there needs to be more diversification. Like, I kind of think NVIDIA wants to use TSMC's new... In fact, I think they already have the contract. Like, NVIDIA is going to be manufacturing... They're going to be one of the first customers of TSMC using the new fab built in the United States. So, like, TSMC, I think it's in Arizona or somewhere over there. Like, TSMC is building a fab in America, in the U.S., just in case something stupid happens with you-know-who on the other side of the Pacific Ocean and Taiwan gets obliterated or whatever, or confiscated, or whatever that whole thing is all about. We know, we're not going to talk about that on this channel. We don't really talk about politics and foreign policy. I don't want to go into that because that's going to be just like that time when we talked about the oceans, and we don't need to get into that on this stream. But anyway... NVIDIA is going to be the first customer using the Arizona fabrication plant from TSMC. Now, I don't know when that's going to be live. I think that's like 2025 at the earliest. So that means RTX 50 is either going to be using Samsung again, or it's going to be on whatever TSMC node is in Taipei, and everyone's all going to be piled on the same thing, and that could push out the release cycle. That could turn this into a Q4 launch. You know, stuff like that could happen. So the bottom line is, just because I'm writing Q3, Q4, all this stuff, I don't know the real reality of when these things will launch. I don't know what's going to happen. It's too far off to predict with full accuracy. But if you go by the previous timeline, what I'm saying is accurate. It does make sense. Logically. You skip the Pro RS. Okay, we can look at that. They need to use EUV. Global Foundries. Global Foundries is another one. Like, for some reason, Global Foundries and Intel... Global Foundries is worse than Intel when it comes to the fab. However, Global Foundries is doing fine manufacturing for like automobiles, embedded ASICs, embedded processors in a lot of industrial things, and all that kind of stuff. So those older nodes, those like temperature hardened chassis that don't have access to air conditioning, like those sort of electronic devices, like think about cars, like the stuff that goes in cars. And I'm not talking about Teslas. I'm talking about like regular cars that run on gasoline or diesel. Like those sort of things use a lot of Global Foundries processor manufacturing. So Global Foundries is fine, but they just don't have anything that's like state of the art. So that's why no one's gonna go to them. And that's the reason why AMD, like one of the biggest things that Lisa Su was able to do for AMD was get AMD and Global Foundries to successfully divorce. Like, divorcing Global Foundries was the best thing that ever happened to AMD, ultimately, because that's what made them go from, like, Ryzen 1 performance to, like, Ryzen 3, like, Zen 3 performance. It was the whole, like, divorcing Global Foundries and going to chiplets, and then having TSMC just start making, like, all the cores. That's what made them, like, be really competitive again. And that's ultimately what made RDNA 2 a thing. Because Vega and, like, the RX 480 and all the, like, GCN, not all of it, but, like, a bunch of that was TSMC. But then, like, in the middle, for a while, it was all Global Foundries. Like, I think it's, like, the 14 nanometer stuff was like Global Foundries 14 nanometer, and it wasn't even that good. It was like cross slices from Samsung. So there was a lot of reasons why AMD struggled to be competitive with Nvidia in the graphics world. It wasn't really like a design thing. It was more so like a manufacturing problem because they were stuck on like inferior nodes for so long. And then finally, after the divorce court ruled like in favor of AMD being independent from Global Foundries up to a certain point. So AMD was like, okay, Global Foundries will make the IO die. So, for example, after the divorce, the Ryzen CPU with the chiplet looks like this. This is TSMC. This is also TSMC. But this thing is GlowFlow. Global Foundries. Global Foundries was making the IO die. And this CPU is a 3950X. Or a 3900X. So Zen 2 was partially TSMC and partially Global Foundries. Now, if I remember correctly, when they went to Zen 3, if I remember this correctly, this is like another year after the divorce. I think, if I'm not mistaken, all of it became TSMC. I think even this thing in the middle became TSMC in Zen 3. So like 5950X. And this is partially the reason why, but not really the full reason why, that this CPU was like a lot better. There were things that were different in the architecture though. Like for example, the cache on the core complex die was significantly better on Zen 3. There was less latency. Monolithic versus chiplet, what's your take? Monolithic makes sense for mobility. Chiplets makes way more sense for like higher power, higher performance. But however, you can do chiplets on mobile, and I think that's actually what AMD is starting to do now with these new 7000 series Ryzen CPUs that are basically obliterating everything in terms of energy efficiency. Chiplet is the way. Chiplet is the future. There's no way around it. Especially if you want to see new product launches in the second half of this decade, everything's going to have to be chiplet based because, like I said earlier, the cost to develop these things and have to reuse the same nodes for like 2 generations is going to become a huge limiting factor. So that means that you're going to have to leverage chiplet technology to pull that off, to get the kind of performance gains that the consumers expect out of a next generation product. You're going to have to leverage chiplet technology. Chiplet technology is the way to go. Like, monolithic is going to do what exactly? Like, what does monolithic do? Like, the main problem with, or I guess, let's say the advantages of monolithic are that you have less you have less latency when you're moving data between cores because they're all in the same structure. But that doesn't mean that you can't overcome those issues with chiplets. So if you remember, the jump from Zen 2 to Zen 3 was a really big jump because they both used chiplets, but what was different was the architecture for the cores, the CCX versus the CCD. Well, okay, this was CCD, but the difference between the Zen 2 CCD and the Zen 3 CCD was different, was so much better on Zen 3 in such a way that Zen 3 was just significantly better in every way. And this is like chiplet versus chiplet. Now, you're going to have to use chiplets if you're going to continue to scale processors. Why didn't AMD RDNA 3 stack the cache just like the 5800X 3D? Because of thermals. It's because of thermals. Because on a graphics card, the difference between the GPU design of RDNA 3 and a CPU design is that the power density, the transistor density on a graphics card is way more dense than on a CPU. So if you were to put the cache on top of like the die itself and have them like up here, for instance, you would have way too much heat load trying to transfer the heat from this to the cooler. That's the reason why. There's too much just too much thermal density because there's too much transistor density on a GPU compared to a CPU. That's the reason why they didn't do it that way. That's why they went planar as opposed to 3D stacked. Now that doesn't mean that they won't figure out how to do that in the future. What I can see them doing like a 3D stacked GPU, but the only problem is they're gonna have to like re-architect the way the shader units are, like how they are relative to each other, because essentially they're all like stacked up in a row, in like rows and rows and rows, and that generates a lot of heat. And you have to remember, like I said, the transistor density on a GPU is so high that you're talking about a lot of heat in such a small area that if you stack things like cache on top of that, all that heat is going to have to go through the cache to get to the heatsink. And the amount of heat that's going through the cache is going to result in stability issues. But that doesn't mean they can't do it, like, for instance, make these things 3D. So, like, add cache on top of these guys over here, for instance, or something like that. So, but yeah, that's the way that it's going to have to go. Like, in order to continue getting, like, the sort of performance uplifts gen on gen, it's going to require, like, that kind of changes. It's going to require, like, thinking outside the box when it comes to designing a processor or a video processor, because you're not going to be able to rely on, oh, we're shrinking down to 2 nanometers, now we can just do it like this. We'll be able to do that for the next couple of generations, but sometime around, I would say, like, after 2025, so like from 2025 and beyond, this is going to be a problem. Like, trying to get all your benefit from a node shrink is not going to be a viable strategy for a chip design company like AMD or Nvidia. They're going to have to utilize, like, chiplet style architectures in order to scale. Meaning, instead of scaling, like, off the node shrink itself, you're going to have to scale in terms of, like, rethinking how you're going to utilize the fundamental building structures for designing the processor. So, like, for example, chiplets and tiles and that kind of thing. The GCD doesn't have the cache on it. Yeah, I know. Because I mentioned why it doesn't have the cache on it. But what I'm saying is, like, in the future, they can probably figure out a way to do that. They'd have to somehow move around the transistor density in such a way that it won't limit them thermally. Because the problem right now is the thermal limits. Processors are getting so dense with transistors that the thermal load on these processors is so high when pushed to the limit. And that's the reason why the 13900K and the 7950X instantly shoot up to like 95 to 100 degrees Celsius at full load, at stock settings. So that's the reason why. It's because the transistor density is so dense that it doesn't matter how good your cooling is, it's going to instantly go to max temps, because there's not enough space between those transistors to get that heat to spread out fast enough. Meaning, you can't have a cooler on top of this guy that is fast enough from a practical standpoint. So I'm not talking about an LN2 pot, because an LN2 pot, not like, we're gonna, if we start talking about that, we're gonna be doing another oceans discussion, because that's gonna be about thermodynamics. And the reason why these CPUs heat up so fast is because with average to above average cooling, so think like anything from like a Wraith Prism, which you probably shouldn't be using with an AM4 or an AM5 CPU, all the way up to like a 360 millimeter radiator, so like a 360 rad. Doesn't matter what you stick on here, it's still going to climb to 95 degrees Celsius at stock settings on a 7950X, because the transistor density in here is they're so jam-packed right next to each other, and they're all generating heat at full load, that all that heat in that small, tiny little area, you cannot, like, the cooler's not capable of sucking all that heat away from it fast enough. Because it's the laws of thermodynamics. The laws of thermodynamics, when you have an area of heat, and then you have an area of cold, the hot particles will always flow to the cold void. So the greater the delta between the cold and the hot is, the faster the flux or the flow of the particles will move to the cold. They will spread. So the problem with using standard cooling, like air and regular radiators, is that those cooling mechanisms, just the delta between the water or the air and, of course, the metal, the heatsink itself, is not great enough to overcome the amount of heat that builds on the CPU. So that's why you're instantly going to see 95C on Zen 4. You're instantly going to thermal throttle on a 13900K when trying to render videos at 100 degrees Celsius. So without like an eco mode, there's no way around it. So, and I guess we have to blame like the processor designers for making the processors behave that way. But part of it is because they're so dense, packed. The silicon is just jam-packed. That's the reason why. So eco mode is really like the only solution. But then eco mode gives up some of the performance, especially at multi-thread. In fact, most of it is multi-thread where it's lost. So, okay, so there was a question earlier about some Asus motherboard, or was it an ASRock? No, an ASRock motherboard. The Pro RS. Okay. So this motherboard from ASRock. So let's just run through this real quick. So this thing has HDMI, DisplayPort, Wi-Fi 6E. It has blazing M.2, PCI Gen 5. It's the full X670 chip, so it means it's a dual B650. Let's just go to the manual. And then we're probably going to play like Resident Evil 4 demo or something. And then call it a stream. So, let's see. So we have M.2_1. It's kind of an interesting choice of ASRock to put one of the chipsets way over here, and then another one is down there in the normal spot. So that's really interesting. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, PCI 3, PCI 2, PCI 1. They have an X1 and an X1. Okay. ASRock, as always, does a very good job with the block diagram. So let's take a look at this motherboard. You have a full Gen 5 16. You have Gen 5 M.2, Gen 4 M.2. So ASRock has cheaped out, and they're actually doing Gen 4 on the second M.2 drive, where this could have been Gen 5, but ASRock chose to make it Gen 4 to save on the price of the motherboard. So it's supposed to be 24 lanes of Gen 4, but they do not have enough retimers for this second M.2 slot, so it only runs a Gen 4. And then, but you still get, two M.2 drives that go straight to the CPU. And you have the full X16 from the GPU. Okay, HDMI, DisplayPort, or HDMI DisplayPort, and then you have all the lanes are accounted for, and then over here we have another M.2 Gen 4, and then you have 4 SATA ports, so that's all of your Gen 3, and that's all of your Gen 4, and then you have 2 lanes of Gen 3 to the last PCIe slot. That's weird, and it's also backwards compatible with SATA, but it's only Gen 3, and it's only 2 lanes. So, which means whatever M.2 drive, assuming it's an NVMe drive, goes into this last M.2 slot, that thing's gonna be slow, because it's only gonna be like 2 lanes of Gen 3. So it's like half of the speed of a normal Gen 3 drive. So might as well just buy a cheap SATA M.2 drive at that point. And then we have Wait, this has 5 M.2? This has 5 M.2 drives? I don't remember seeing that. This really has 5 M.2 drives? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow. Okay, it does have 5. That's very unique. Okay, all of a sudden this motherboard is a lot more interesting than I thought it was. So they have 5 M.2 drives. Now one of them is only like 2 lanes, but it's full. This one here is full Gen 4. So that means that they're doing, where's the networking? This is 1 lane of Gen 3. Or no, this is 1 lane of Gen 4, 1 lane of Gen 4, 4 lanes of Gen 4, so that's 6. They have 2 more. Right here. 1, 2, oh wait, yeah, okay. I actually kind of like this motherboard. This motherboard is actually well equipped. This is pretty good. Because they're doing... there is one thing I don't like about this motherboard. And it applies to anybody who wants to do content creation and use a capture card. So the only thing about this motherboard that is missing is an X4 PCI Gen expansion slot. So there's no like Gen 3 or Gen 4 or even Gen 5 4-lane expansion slot. And that is something that if it was me buying a motherboard for myself, I personally would not get this, only because I need a X4 PCIe slot at the bottom of the motherboard for the AverMedia Live Gamer 4K. So for me, this wouldn't work. But for most people, this would work because it does give you a lot of storage options. But the only thing is it gives you like these 2 X1 slots, which are only good for like a 1080p 60 capture card. So these are kind of useless in 2023, at least in my opinion. But you do get 6 SATA ports, which is really interesting. So you get 4 on the primary, and you get 2 more here. And that means the last 2 Gen 3 lanes are right here. Because this is Gen 4, Gen 4. Remember what I said? On the primary chipset, you have 4 lanes of Gen 4. All of them are right here. You have 4 lanes of Gen 3. All of them are right here. On the second chipset, you have 8 lanes of Gen 4. So that's going to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of them are accounted for. And then you have 4 lanes of Gen 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So all of them are accounted for, which means none of these motherboards are... like, this motherboard is a good one. They're not, like, skimping out on leaving resources on the chipset unaccounted for or unused. Could you use the 20 gig for the capture card? No. So for the internal one, no. But for the external one, the answer is no, because that requires Thunderbolt. And Thunderbolt it requires Thunderbolt 3, which is 40 gig USB. So the answer to that question is no. I mean, you could try it, but it probably won't work, and it probably is not going to give you a smooth 60 FPS at 4K. So it's definitely going to be bandwidth starved on those 20 gig USBs. But it has one here, and it should have another one somewhere. Or at least the header for it should be somewhere. One on here, and then it looks like it doesn't actually have the other one. Okay, so it's missing that. Because each one of these chipsets provides one 20 gig USB. So this one has it here. And I don't see the one for the second chipset. So this one's missing it. So they did leave that disconnected. Unless they forgot to list it on their block diagram. You'd have to look through the manual to find that out. But overall, it looks like it's a decent motherboard. I guess this is this. How much is this, actually? Okay. Yeah, this is not that bad. The 5M.2 drives is good. I personally, okay. The nice thing about it is it is full X670E. However, it is full with an asterisk in the sense that instead of the full 24 lanes, it's really like 20 lanes of Gen 5, and then for some reason 4 lanes of Gen 4 because they cheaped out and they didn't put enough retimers. So there's no 20 gig USB on the back. That's the other thing. So they're not utilizing one of those 20 gig USB ports. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it seems like it's a pretty good motherboard overall. I don't know. Let me see. Like, how much is the X670E Steel Legend? Okay, see, like this is only a few dollars more. Well, it's on back order at Newegg, but I would rather get this. Like, this is better than that motherboard. Because this one actually does the full, like, 24 lanes. I think this is a better one. One that I would strongly consider is the X670 Aorus Elite AX. This is another one at the same price point. It even has a $10 mail-in rebate, but it's like, this is the same price. The only difference is this one does not have the E, which means this one only has 4 lanes of Gen 5 for the top SSD. And then the graphics card slot is PCI Gen 4. So in terms of Gen 5 future proofing, this one's not as good as that ASRock, because the ASRock does give you Gen 5 on the graphics card slot. That doesn't matter today, but in the future that will actually matter. So, but in terms of price, like this, I like this. I personally am using this. So this is the motherboard that I was using, well, I mean, I use for the benchmarking of games and graphics cards. This is the test PC motherboard that I use. So, like, for those wondering, like, currently right now, the 7950X3D is installed in this motherboard that you see on the screen. So, for the testing, for benchmarking of games with graphics cards and stuff. So, like, for example, those Hogwarts Legacy videos that I did, showcasing the performance for different graphics cards, the Forspoken comparison videos that I did, those were all done using this motherboard. I have a PC build video showing how to build a PC using this motherboard and a 7700X as an example. So, I mean, it's up to you. Like, I really think, like, in my opinion, so this is what, 280? I would probably recommend this if you can get one of these. The Steel Legend is a very good one. I mean, I reviewed it in that video that I did, the deep dive, and I like this one. I like the Steel Legend. So if you want to go ASRock, if you want to go like full X670E, 24 lanes Gen 5, yeah, the Steel Legend is probably going to be the best one. Hey, TL Forge, you're a newbie in PC DIY. I recently built my new PC. There is one thing. The clock frequency of the GPU seems much higher than it's supposed to be in some games. When I play Genshin Impact, the clock on my GPU is only around that. However, when I play Cyberpunk, that's totally normal. That's totally normal. It's going to need to clock higher in more demanding games. No. What GPU are you using? Is that like a 6900 XT or something? Because 2750 is like, I don't even know like if NVIDIA cards clock that high. Oh, it's a 4090. Yeah, no, that's fine. There's nothing wrong. That's totally normal. That's expected behavior, is what you're seeing. But yeah, like, just to answer Claude's question, like, this is a good one, the ASRock Steel Legend. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's like, what, $20 more? I think this is the better one. Because at the end of the day, like, what's $20 when for the total platform cost, right? So this one to me is a good one. No, you don't want to do that. You're opening yourself up to unstable issues with the game crashing if you go and do that. So the thing is, the game, like I said, the more demanding the game, the more the graphics card will have to do work. Genshin Impact doesn't even do anything in terms of like how much graphics processing power is required to play Genshin Impact is like nothing compared to Cyberpunk 2077. It's like we're talking like apples and oranges comparison here. So I wouldn't worry about it. And yeah. Oh, thanks for the tip. I think, is that Australian dollars? I think that's the first time I've ever actually gotten Australian dollars. So that's like the first for me. The super chat. But that's the thing. Like, you have to also think about the total platform cost when you're trying to choose which motherboard to get. Like, I'll give you guys another example. So, like, a really good example is MSI X670E Carbon Wi-Fi. So this one, oh wow, this one's actually on sale. So this one used to be, see, like the original price of this was $479, so about $480. So this is actually a really good motherboard from MSI. That's actually a decent price on it. But when I was choosing my main motherboard for my new upgrade, it was between this and, no, not Ace, and the Aorus Master, and this. So this is normally $500, and that MSI board is normally $480. So there's only a $20 difference between the two of them, but the difference is this one gives me the ability to add Thunderbolt 4 to the motherboard, which I ended up doing. I have a video on the channel showing how to do that. So how to add Thunderbolt to AMD. And then the other thing that this gives me is it's EATX. So it's extended ATX. So there's more. It's a bigger motherboard, so it's not really ideal for small form factor builds. But it gives me, a ton of like the USB 3.2, the 10 gig, the 20 gig. I can run 3 monitors off of the integrated graphics with this motherboard. I think with the MSI, if I remember correctly, I can do... Okay, so this one I can do 3 as well. The MSI one's nice because it does have the full, like the BIOS button, the smart button. But ultimately, the lack of the ability to run Thunderbolt on this motherboard is what was the deal breaker, and ultimately the reason why I ended up getting the Aorus Master over the MSI Carbon Wi-Fi. So we're talking a $20 difference between the two of them at the end of the day. So it's like, what's $20 if it gives me the ability to add Thunderbolt in the future? I'm just going to end up buying the slightly more expensive motherboard because at the end of the day, the platform cost isn't going to be that much different. But one of them opens the door to a whole nother feature set, aka Thunderbolt, whereas the other lacks that completely. So that's why I'm saying, like, when you're going to do an upgrade, make sure you make a list of all the features that you're looking for. So when you narrow down your search, try to look at not only the requirements that you need on the motherboard, but also the price. Because obviously the price comes first, but, you know, even at like the $300 price range, you can still get a motherboard that you can add Thunderbolt to, for example. Like, for instance, that Gigabyte board that we were looking at earlier, and the Steel Legend from ASRock, and I even think the Pro from ASRock, the X670 RS Pro from ASRock, also supports that kind of feature set, being able to add Thunderbolt. So, have I considered the Strix E-E? That thing gives you 2 PCI Gen 5 and 3. Does it do that? I thought this one was only 4. So it has... Okay, that's X8. 1, 2, 3. How is it doing this? There's something weird going on with this motherboard. Actually, did I review this motherboard? I feel like I already... Did I cover this motherboard in a video? I think I did. M.2... No, it's only 4 M.2 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing shares resources, though. I think it has to. Total supports 4 M.2 and 4 SATA. This looks like it's going to be cutting some resources from the graphics card to do that. Or wait, no. In order for them to all drive off the CPU, so you're going to max out the drive slots. Some motherboards share links. Yeah, exactly. So I think this is sharing stuff. Yeah, I think I did a video. Did I do a video on this? I feel like I did. I think I have this in my Asus video, right? Like when I evaluated Asus, I think I did Tough, Strix, and Crosshair. I think I did those 3 in my video. I did not like this motherboard. So the TLDR was I really don't like the Strix X670E-E. I think there was something terribly wrong with it that made me like not recommend it at all. So we're gonna have to look at the manual. And I really don't like that Asus doesn't share the block diagram. It's very anti-consumer. Asus has kind of become like my least favorite of the motherboard manufacturers in recent years. They're the most annoying one to have to figure out like what I can and cannot do with a motherboard. So somewhere in here, it's going to have a table that shows that graphics card lanes are being used. There we go. Here it is. M.2_3 peels off lanes from the graphics card. There you go. That's how you get that third M.2 drive that advertises Gen 5 speed. So as soon as you plug a M.2 drive into the third M.2_3, bam, graphics card drops to X8. There you go. Just like on the Intel Z790 motherboards. So this is the reason why I didn't like this motherboard. There's another reason why I didn't like it. I think it didn't utilize all the lanes. If I remember correctly, they left lanes on the chipset just hanging, connected to nothing. Instead, they steal lanes from the graphics card for that Gen 5 drive. So it's like, yeah, no. This one's a hard pass. And that's the reason why I didn't recommend it in the video, in the deep dive video for Asus. So yeah, totally not recommended. Strix is kind of hot garbage compared to Crosshair and tough, and prime. For the amount of money that they're charging for this, like, that's kind of ludicrous to, like, steal lanes from the graphics card and then leave things unconnected on the chipset. So it's kind of a joke of a motherboard. Gigabyte, Aorus Master, and ASRock Tai-Chi, and the MSI Carbon Wi-Fi are light years ahead of this motherboard. How does the ProArt? We covered ProArt in a previous live stream. It was good. There's nothing wrong with the ProArt. It's a good motherboard. This is a bad motherboard, and the ProArt is a good motherboard. Well, actually, I take that back. ProArt is an okay motherboard. This motherboard is a bad motherboard. So ProArt was not amazing, but it's not terrible. The only really good Asus motherboard for AMD is the Crosshair Extreme. And it's $1,000. This is like the only good one from Asus that is a no compromise choice. But, you know, Asus tax is a thing, and this gets into why I don't really recommend them anymore. Because if you want a motherboard from Asus and you don't want to worry about, like, am I going to lose graphics card lanes if I plug in this drive, or is it going to work and all that stuff, you basically have to pay an insane amount of money to ensure that it actually does what it says it does. And you still don't get access to the block diagram, even after paying $1,000. So it's kind of absurd, and it's kind of anti-consumer. That's why I don't really like Asus that much. The Crosshair Hero is... This one is kind of okay, but it's, like, still way too much money for what it is. Like, that's way too much money for what this is. At least the MSI Ace can justify the $700 price tag. This thing can't justify the $700 price tag. I mean, it isn't even an eATX motherboard. It's a standard ATX form factor, whereas the Ace is an eATX motherboard, just like the Extreme. And the problem with this is, like, okay, it gives me, you know, an X8. It gives me an X8 down here for, like, Crossfire or something, but the minute I plug something in here, I lose half of my graphics card lanes, which is fine, because that's how, like, all the motherboards used to be. But then the thing I don't like about this motherboard is the bottom slot down here is a useless X1. It's a useless X1. I have to have an X4. I have to have an X4, and this thing is $700, and it doesn't even come with an X4 slot. That is a hard pass. So, because it's like, Asus is like, oh, if you want that, then you have to step up to the Extreme. But you know what? Like, Gigabyte has a sub $300 motherboard that does what I need. So, I don't know. Are B650E motherboards worth it? Yes, they are. They're actually the secret smart choice. Like, they're actually the secret knowledge. If I can even find them, they're like so hard to find. B650E, Aorus Master. I can't even find them. They're like so hard to find. Okay, B650E, Tai-Chi. Here's one. So the reason why the B650E is so good is because these are the ones that give you the postcode debug on the B650 chipset, and they also still give you all the essentials that you actually need. So, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag. You have to really know which ones are the good ones. But in general, like the flagship names, so like Tai-Chi, Master, what's the MSI one called? the MPG, whatever it's called. I forget the name. Carbon? No, not Carbon. Whatever the MSI one is. Asus has Strix. I don't even know if the Strix B650 is good. But, like, the B650Es are actually good. No, there's no A. I think it's the Carbon. MSI B650E. Edge Wi-Fi, that's what it's called. The Edge Wi-Fi. Tomahawk and Edge Wi-Fi. I think it's, where's the... Do they not have an E? Okay, I take that back. I don't know what MSI has for B650E. I don't even see any of them. None of these are B650E. So, I don't know. MSI is kind of weird. Like, MSI is the one brand, like, that I would avoid if you're trying to get a budget motherboard. It's not that MSI is bad. MSI is just, in my opinion, after evaluating, like, all the motherboards, MSI is only, like, it's a weird thing because MSI has the best AMD motherboard. Meg Ace is the best one. Like, this is hands down the best motherboard for AM5. But if you want to save money and you're not going to spend like $700 on a motherboard, if you look down the stack, ASRock and Gigabyte have way, way more competitive options that give you more value long-term than MSI. So, like, what do I mean by that? MSI doesn't have a good B650E option. Asus has a couple, but they're kind of pricey for what they are. And then, like, Gigabyte has the Master. The B650E Aorus Master is probably one of the best fully loaded B650E motherboards you'll ever find. And then there's the ASRock Tai Chi and the ASRock B650E Steel Legend. This one. This is actually really decent. Like, the Steel Legend is really decent. The B650E. But I personally think the best B650 motherboard, after looking at all the different ones that I looked at, is the Gigabyte Aorus Master. Now, the only thing about the Gigabyte Aorus Master B650E is that it does two of the M.2 drives steal lanes from the graphics card. But I think it's a good compromise when you look at how many other things that motherboard gives you. That motherboard gives you the postcode debug LED. That motherboard gives you like a ton of the USB. You get the 20 gig USB, you know, all that stuff. You have the ability to add Thunderbolt 4 to that motherboard if you wanted. It gives you the correct lane allocation. Like, for example, let's just look up the motherboard manual. Gigabyte. Do I even have it in here? Yeah, right here. So, like, let's just look at the manual. B650E Aorus Master. So it's like any Chinese motherboard's worth a thing. There is one good one. There is one good one called the Valkyrie. The Chinese motherboard called Valkyrie. Well, I don't know if it's Chinese. Actually, I think it is Chinese. We can look at it. It's actually really good. So here's the B650E. So see what it does? It steals lanes from the graphics card to give you 2 more M.2 drives. The thing is, though, you have to remember, unlike the X670 Aorus Master or the X670E Aorus Master, this thing is giving you literally 4 Gen 5 M.2 drives. All 4 of these M.2 drives support full Gen 5 speed. That means some crazy mad lad could go and buy 4 Gen 5 drives and populate every single M.2 slot on this B650E motherboard and get blazing fast Gen 5 speeds on every single M.2 drive on this motherboard. When you look at it, it's like, yeah, it's kind of annoying that your GPU drops to X8. But here's the thing that I want to point out to people. Think of this, if someone's buying for the long-term future-proof, think about this for a second. This slot is a Gen 5 slot. That means if you have a true Gen 5 graphics card that doesn't exist today, obviously there's that one Chinese GPU, but who cares about that thing because it's not even that powerful. But when we get, like, for example, RTX 50 series, RTX 5090, RTX 5080, RDNA 4 from AMD, so the Radeon, like, 9950 XTX or whatever it ends up being called, the bottom line is you can take a Gen 5 GPU, plug it in to this slot, and if you have drives in here, it'll run an X8. But an X8 Gen 5 is equal to an X16 Gen 4. So it's like, yeah, you're losing half your lanes, but if the GPU's Gen 5, it doesn't really matter because it's still going to be as fast as an X16 Gen 4, aka like a 4090, in terms of the bandwidth throughput over the PCI bus. See what I'm saying? So if you're buying for the long term, this is not really that big of a negative because you're still getting like 4 M.2 drive slots and they're all full Gen 5 bandwidth. So that's actually pretty nice. So, and then the chipset gives you an X4 for a PCIe capture card that can do full 4K 60, aka AverMedia Live Gamer or Elgato 4K Pro, whatever. So you got the support for that in here. And you can add Thunderbolt if you buy the Thunderbolt add-in card and plug it in here. So you get 40 gig USB-C off of this slot here. You know, Wi-Fi 6E, the Intel 2.5 gig LAN, 4 SATA. So, and then you get like an X2. This X2 may not seem like it does much today, but at some point soon, we're going to see 10 gigabit LAN network interface cards that can plug into this slot and take 2 lanes and run full 10 gigabit LAN off of this motherboard. So this motherboard has a lot of like upgradability over the next several years. So that's the reason why I really like this one. The ASRock Tai-Chi is very similar. And I think Asus has one that's also similar to this on the B650E side. So, in my mind, if someone is looking for like a $300 to $350, anywhere from like $250 to $350, this one is at the top of that range, around like $350. So it's like on sale, this thing will be more like $320 or maybe $300 on like a holiday sale. So I think this one's a pretty solid one. You also get, you know, really good stuff like the actual debug postcode LED. Like a lot of motherboards that are less than $500 don't include this anymore, so you actually get one of these. So this is actually a really good one. So there's the Thunderbolt USB 4 header right there. So supports full Thunderbolt with PCIe tunneling. Please do look at the BioStar Valkyrie. It looks really good on paper. Not sure why no one's talking about it. It's just because it doesn't. They just don't ship enough of them into the Western market. We can look at it. Level 1 Text showed an ASRock B650 mixer board with a Promontory chipset, and in that effectively makes it. Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying. Every time you guys have seen me like do a breakdown on the motherboards, like. If you guys remember, what did I say in every time I draw a X670 motherboard? Do you guys remember what I always draw? I draw the CPU. I draw the 5.0 bus or the 4.0 bus. Then I draw the downlink to the first chipset. So remember what I said. B650 is right here. This is the AM5 socket. B650 has 4 lanes over here, 4 lanes over here, and 3 lanes over here, or 4 lanes over here. Remember what I said? PCIe 4, Gen 4, X4, PCIe 3, X4, and then you have another PCIe 4, X4. So, when Wendell did that video where he showed that mixer board for the ASRock B650 to turn it into an X670, what does that do? What does that literally do? Because on that mixer board from ASRock has what? It has an open 4 lanes of Gen 4. And it has, I think, it has like an M.2 slot. An M.2 drive is tied to this thing. You have an M.2 here. You know, your graphics is like right here. And you have like some other stuff over here. So, the bottom line is when Wendell takes that thing and plugs it into the mixer board, what is he essentially doing? He's plugging it in down here. He's plugging it in down here. And what is that thing that he plugged in? Guess what? B650 chipset. He literally plugged in a B650 chip. What does that thing have on it? X4 lanes of Gen 4, X4 lanes of Gen 3 in the form of SATA expansion and PCI expansion. So it basically gives you back that PCI 4 that you tied up, and then you have like SATA expansion over here on the Gen 3. Because remember, it has PCIe 4 X4 and PCIe 3 X4. This is the concept of chiplets taken to the next level. Well, this isn't even chiplets. Well, I mean, it kind of is, but it's not really. It's just chips. It's just connecting chips together. So what did this become? When you have 2 B650 chipsets, you have X670. X670. You can look at any block diagram for any X670 motherboard and you will see 2 B650 chipsets connected together. So all ASRock did was they made the wire external. B1300 chip? No. I get what you did, but no. You get X670. So for example, well, I actually have the tab open still. So for example, if we go to this, the X670, so let's look at this. X670 Aorus Master, and then over here we have B650 Aorus Master. So the X670 Aorus Master, right there. This is the X670E Aorus Master. There's your first B650. There's your second B650. So all ASRock did was they just have this second chip is modular. That's all they did. You plug it into that PCI X4. Because here is the B650E Aorus Master. The B650E Aorus Master only has one B650 chipset. The X670E Aorus Master has 2 of them. 2 B650 chipsets. So every X670 motherboard is literally just a B650 motherboard with another B650 chipset connected to it. ASRock said how much it's going to cost, though I don't know. I didn't look into it. it's cool. It's cool because it's kind of taking the concept of like upgrading motherboards to the next level. But that's why I like ASRock. I mean, I've said ASRock is really the one that seems to think the most outside the box when it comes to motherboard design. Like Asus used to be the innovator, but now it seems like Asus only cares about RGB. And now ASRock has become the real innovator when it comes to, like actually thinking outside the box, thinking of things that might actually be useful in a real world scenario rather than just, okay, here's a bunch of RGB. I can run my like GIFs and GIFs and all this stuff scrolling across my motherboard with all the LEDs lit up. So that's kind of where that kind of ends, I guess. Like that's the reason why I find the AM5 socket, like that's why I find these motherboards from AMD, like this chipset design, very, very interesting. Because, like it takes the concept of the multiple chips and it takes it to the next level, being able to like do stuff like this. I don't know if they're gonna stick with this for the next motherboard. They may just go back to like one chipset that connects everything instead of like dual chipsets. They did this for like, the thing is they partnered with somebody, I forgot exactly who in the past, ASMedia. So like AMD used to have ASMedia develop the chipsets for their AM4 motherboards. I think with AM5 AMD did their own design or something like that, and then they were like, "Oh, let's do like chiplet based motherboards," for some reason. Like they're just taking like they're taking the idea of like chiplets just and applying it to like everything now, because now the motherboard can have chiplets, and it's like the graphics card kind of has chiplets, so. The double chips save on manufacturing and tooling. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why. But I don't think that's the full story. Like, I guess it is because it's like, they can sell a single chipset motherboard as a B650 motherboard, and they can sell a dual as a premium X670 motherboard. So that's probably one of the main key differentiating factors. Rather than just manufacturing like one big chip and then just like wasting connections on it just to sell a cheaper motherboard. So yeah, because they really only have like one. Yeah, so that is a good point, Nero. Like you can make a whole bunch of the B650 chiplet or chipset, and then if you're going to make an X670 motherboard, you just take two of them to make that motherboard. And if you're making a B650 motherboard, you just take one of them. So it's good because it recycles one design, one chipset for your entire platform. Like your entire product stack, all the way from the cheap, $150 motherboards all the way up to the $1,000 Asus Crosshair Extreme, you're still using the same chipset. And it's a good way to stay competitive against, the competition like Intel, because Intel has way more R&D to throw at like, oh, let's make a Z790. Oh, let's make a B760 and a B760M and all that stuff. Is it okay to plug only one 8-pin CPU? Huh? Yeah, Intel has a lot. Well, I mean, Intel actually has way more than 4. If you're talking just the desktop, yeah, they have like 4 right now, but they're gonna EOL like 2 of them in like a month, if not already. And yet Intel has less PCIe lanes. Well, Intel has more lanes on their chipset by like 4 lanes, but AMD has more lanes off the CPU. So it ends up being kind of a wash between the two of them. So, well, it kind of depends, because like I've never actually looked at like a cheap like B760, because I just think the Intel motherboards that are like a B650 competitor are really bad value, because you can't overclock them. The BIOS is just lacking a whole bunch of features. So it's kind of like with Intel, it's like if you want to cheap out on Intel and buy like a B760, it's not going to be that great. Intel uses DMI. Is that comparable? Yeah, it's comparable. The only difference is the Intel is using some proprietary protocol. Intel uses their own protocol to talk to the chipset from the CPU. AMD and Intel have comparable I/O performance. Yeah, for the most part. I kind of think that AMD, though, on the everything up until like Z690, technically, like the I/O off of the drives that go straight into the CPU were slightly faster on AMD because your drive was going straight into the CPU. It wasn't going through a chipset. Whereas with Intel, prior to Rocket Lake, prior to the Z590, you could not connect anything to the CPU natively besides the RAM and the graphics card. Like, everything had to go through the chipset on Intel. The other thing, too, that I noticed is a lot of these new AMD motherboards, the codec for the audio, so the audio DAC on the back of the motherboard, your integrated audio, goes straight into the CPU. On Intel, you'll never see this. This will always go into the chipset. But it's up to the motherboard manufacturers to decide if they want to do this or not. I know I've looked at ASRock boards. Some ASRock boards, they take the audio and they plug it into the chipset off of like a USB port. Because essentially, you know what you can't see on this diagram is this wire right here is actually a USB 2.0 connection. It's just a physical wire taking a USB 2 port on the CPU and connecting it straight to like the codec. So that's how they've done that. The other thing too is another major difference is the fact that AMD actually has USB ports that go straight into the CPU, again bypassing the chipset completely, whereas every USB port on an Intel motherboard will go into the chipset. You'll never see a USB port ever connect directly into an Intel CPU. Like, there's no pin that physically wires the USB to the Intel CPU. Whereas on AMD, you actually have USB ports that plug directly into the CPU, just like this codec here. And then, you know, you have like a bus that takes like drives that go into the CPU as well. Too bad the MSI boards don't have Thunderbolt. Yeah, like they're the only ones. They're the only ones this generation, or at least the initial AM5 motherboards from MSI, all of them don't support Thunderbolt. Yeah. But what I would suggest to people who are looking at a motherboard and like what to look for an X4 PCIe slot, an X16. Well, obviously they come with an X16, but look for an X16 for the graphics card, Look for an X4 for any sort of future expandability, typically a capture card, or Thunderbolt add-in card, unless you have a motherboard that already has Thunderbolt, because they do exist. The ASRock Taichi, the Asus Pro Creator, the Asus Crosshair Hero and Extreme. All of those motherboards have Thunderbolt included. And then the bottom slot could be an X1 or an X2 electrically. But preferably look for an X2 if you ever plan on adding like 10 gigabit network cards, when those things actually end up existing. Because currently today, as far as I know, there are no 10 gigabit LAN add-in cards that run on 2 lanes. I think all of them require 4 lanes, but technically you only need 2 lanes to get 10 gigabit LAN. So, and I think that's the reason why they created this electrically 2-lane PCIe slot, because the idea is you can add 10 gigabit LAN to this motherboard. But that's what I would look for. And obviously the postcode debug is very, very nice to have. To check for like memory training codes and all that stuff. So you can understand if your motherboard is just waiting to post, or if it's hung on what? On the graphics card, on the RAM. Could I use a Thunderbolt card in the MSI though, or they need the Thunderbolt header? I've heard like different things. I've heard people try it and it may work. Like the USB might actually work, but you will lose, like some functionality may not work. Like for example, you may not get PCIe tunneling working without the Thunderbolt header, because the Thunderbolt header is what does the control plane signaling for the overhead channel to tell the CPU, it's like, hey, this is a Thunderbolt port and it's capable of 40 gig speed. If you don't have that, the CPU doesn't really know like how fast that USB port can go. So it's like you could run into problems. The other thing too is like MSI, since MSI doesn't support Thunderbolt on the AM5 stuff, like there won't be a BIOS menu option if you plug it in. Like if you go back and watch my video on how to add Thunderbolt 4 or USB 4 to an X670 motherboard, I show the BIOS after I plug the card in. And what's cool about it is when the card is plugged in, you get a full new section in the BIOS under advanced options for Thunderbolt. Like it literally shows like the card's name, and you can do things like, for example, security. So you can enable like authentication, passwords. Like when you plug a device in, does it automatically like enumerate and initialize? Or you can lock it down and make it secure. So for instance, if I plug in, say, a external 4K capture card or an external GPU, if I have authentication set up on the Thunderbolt, I have to type in a password in order for me to allow that device to connect. So it makes it more like, you know, anti-hacker friendly or whatever. So it's like it has security options and things like that that you obviously wouldn't have access to if you didn't have the Thunderbolt header plugged in. You bricked your Asus B550F when it was just after launch. That sounds terrible. No post or anything. Did you accidentally like statically shock the board? Because honestly, I think that the vast majority of people who end up with like a dead motherboard, they probably weren't grounding themselves correctly, and they probably accidentally like static shocked the motherboard, and it like killed something on the motherboard. ESD is a thing. The board is very moisture sensitive. Could I use a Thunder? Okay, we already answered that. Oh. Okay, so okay. Let's look at the BioStar X670E Valkyrie. Let's look at this motherboard. BioStar Valkyrie. AMD X670E motherboard. The long-awaited AM5 has arrived. A new generation of AMD AM5 platform with Ryzen 7000 series processors. Please look forward to it. Witness the legend of Valkyrie. BioStar AMD X670E motherboard. This motherboard actually looks really good. Like this, it looks like it's doing all the right things. Learn more. Okay, here we go. BioStar. They even have like this cool like YouTube video playing. Ultimate of Sanction. It's the ultimate of sanction. It's so good, it's the ultimate of sanction. Okay, a couple of things that already look really good. It has a postcode debug LED display down here. So that's really nice to see. 6 SATA ports, that's really good. You know, it has, what is this, 5? 2 PCI 5.0 X16. That means the top one is X16, the second one is X8. And when the second one has something plugged in, the top one will also run at X8. Let's see what else we've got. Number 4. 1 PCIe 4.0 X16 slot. Now that is obviously not going to be X16. That's going to probably be like X4 or X1 or X2 electrically. But the nice thing is it's actually 4.0. It's not 3.0, it's 4.0. The Chinese buzzwords. Features, cooperatives. It has cooperatives. This motherboard is so advanced, it has cooperatives. And check this out. CPU and chipset, audio plus, video plus, speed plus. It's durable plus. Look at that, durable plus, protection plus, and DIY plus. Man, that's a lot of plus. HDMI. The terms HDMI. Okay, this is just some whatever. Video. DIY. You build the motherboard yourself. Yeah. Insane. What is this cooperatives though? Like, what is this? Cooperatives. A Pacer. Access the best. Ares. Asgard. G-Skill, okay, Guile is here. Razer Chroma, Silverstone. I don't know what Silverstone had to do with this motherboard. T-Force, Sigmatech, V-Color, Thermaltake, HyperX, that's Kingston, Bits Power, and then whoever these guys are. So yeah, it's probably, well, I mean, Razer Chroma is probably not going to be like a QVL list. Asgard, Guile. Yeah, those are like RAM resellers. Audio Plus, HD Audio provides high quality sound with minimal loss of audio fidelity. Hi-Fi Ground. Oh, it's got Hi-Fi Ground. BioStar Hi-Fi Ground. Golden Line is noise blocking multi-layer PCB designed to isolate analog audio signals from digital sources. Now that sentence is a mouthful. Unique PCB layout is ideal for exceptional clarity and high fidelity sound. Hi-Fi amp. The built-in amplifier can drive major high-end headphones with over 100 dB loads and offer wide band width, low noise, high slew rate, and low distortion audio source from front panel I/O. Gaming enthusiasts can enjoy a fuller range of dynamic sound with crisper details and less distortion. Smart Ear. Smart Ear is a Windows-based audio utility which allows you to easily adjust system volume. With its user-friendly GUI, you can also increase or decrease impedance setting, low, high gain, so to optimize your headphone performance. You can easily enjoy high fidelity and awesome sound. Hi-Fi Cap. Hi-Fi Cap delivers low noise, low distortion. So basically, this sounds like a really good motherboard. Let's go look at the manual. They have like all this fancy market. That actually looks really good. They have the Smart BIOS update. They don't have the clear CMOS though, unless it's on the motherboard somewhere. Where's the? How do I find? Is it download? Where's the? Okay, manual, BIOS manual. It's got to be this one. Okay, here we. Okay. There's a battery right here. Oh, it's got switch and power buttons. It looks like there's you do have to use the clear CMOS jumper. Oh, no, there's a clear CMOS button. There's a clear CMOS button on the motherboard, so that's nice. It's not on the back, but at least it has one. Hey, check this out. It has a Thunderbolt header. There's a Thunderbolt header. That's the weirdest looking Thunderbolt header I've ever seen. But it says Thunderbolt header. So you can actually add Thunderbolt to this thing. Now, it's probably going to be like their weird proprietary connector, though. It has a BIOS switch? Where? Oh, LN2 switch. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that's cool. So hold on. 1, 2. This is the Wi-Fi. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 M.2. SB. This one's chipset. This one's chipset. This one's CPU. This one's CPU. Okay, that means that it can do potentially 2 Gen 5 drives directly to the CPU, just like the Aorus Master. And these other two are going to be off the chipset. Now, I don't know, does it have the block diagram? Or am I going to have to draw their block diagram for them? Wait, what's this? No. Man, this motherboard is, like, it's got a lot of stuff in here. I think I'm going to have to draw... Yeah, these are all the other languages. Okay, so there's no... Unless it's, like, at the very bottom, like MSI. Maybe they have one, but it's at the very bottom. Okay, no, so they don't have... Yeah, they don't have the manual. I mean, the block diagram. So we're going to have to draw it out. Okay, so let's see. 1 Gen 5 drive, Gen 5 drive, Gen 4 drive, Gen 4 drive. No SATA backwards compatibility on those Gen 4 drives. That's totally fine. And then we've got, what, like 6 SATA? 6 SATA. All of them support RAID. And then you have this, and it's Intel 2.5 LAN. And then where is the Wi-Fi? Is there Wi-Fi? Oh, there's no Wi-Fi? I see the Wi-Fi stuff here. Is there no Wi-Fi card, though? No, I see the antenna. The Wi-Fi somewhere. Oh, right here. Wait. M.2 E-key socket supports this and Wi-Fi. Oh, you know what? I don't think they have Wi-Fi. I think this motherboard doesn't have Wi-Fi. BioStar's gonna hire me. Hold on, I don't see... Yeah, okay, so it's like those ASRock boards that don't have Wi-Fi, and you have to, like, add the chip yourself. But it includes... Like, I can tell it includes the antenna. So, like, I can physically see the antenna routing. So that means, like, down here, like... if we go back up... Or down... Right here, like... Right here is where you add the Wi-Fi, but you have to add it yourself. So it goes, like the wires are pre-run all the way to the antennas, wherever those are, like over here somewhere. But you have to add it. So that means that there's one lane that's just kind of sitting there doing nothing. So let me think about this. This is 4 CPU, the CPU lanes. So this is off the primary chipset, this is off the secondary chipset. That means we have 4 more Gen 4 lanes off the second chipset. We have 6 SATA. 4 of these go to the Gen 3, the other 2 go to the other Gen 3, so you got 2 Gen 3. They're doing potentially Wi-Fi and LAN off of the remaining 2 Gen 3. So we have 4 lanes of Gen 4, which go down here. So this guy. So the PCIe X16 by 3, that has got to be an X4. It has got to be X4, because that's going to be where your Thunderbolt add-in card goes, because this thing says it has a Thunderbolt header. So yeah, right here. Bam. There you go. This is really good. This motherboard is actually really good. This thing is literally the same as the MSI. This is basically an MSI X670E carbon Wi-Fi with the ability to add Thunderbolt. So this is basically an MSI motherboard that has Thunderbolt support. That's what this looks like to me. It's the exact same motherboard as the carbon Wi-Fi, except it has the Thunderbolt header. So that this is actually better than the MSI carbon Wi-Fi. So like, how much is this thing? Whoa, that's expensive. Okay, but that's okay. This is importing from Taiwan or Japan. So here it is. I really think, like, if this was sold natively off of Newegg, this would probably be like a $400 motherboard. This board is for sale on Newegg? I don't know about that. It's probably like a $350 to $400 motherboard, if I had to guess. It could even go for like See, if this was like a Gigabyte or an MSI, this thing would sell for like $500. But I think because BioStar isn't that well known, like, it's probably, if I had to guess, this thing would probably sell for like $350 off of Newegg if it was like actually sold in the US. In the US market, this would be like a $350 to $400 motherboard. Which means this is exceptionally good value, or it's very price competitive with MSI, Gigabyte, or like basically all of them. So it's actually good. But would you trust it to work? See, the thing that I would know, I think it would work. It's just more so like not being familiar with the BIOS. Like, see, like at least they show like BIOS. Like it literally has it tells you how to update the BIOS with the BioStar BIOS Flasher. They call their BIOS flash tool BioStar BIOS Flasher. You can use the BIOS Flasher to upgrade the... Yeah, and they even tell you, you gotta have it on FAT or FAT32 for the USB flash drive. Like, everything's there. Like, I would be curious to know, like, what the... Wow, they even have, like, a tool to do it in Windows, which I totally would not trust doing. I never update the BIOS through Windows. I will always do it through the BIOS itself. So... But they actually show you how to do... This is hilarious. Check this out. This is a Windows XP screenshot. Like, this screenshot is Windows XP. This is so 2005. Like, this is what my very first PC... Like, that's what it looked like. Like, this right here is Windows XP. And then this right here is Windows 7. They've got Windows 7... Windows XP, and I guess another Windows 7 generic screenshot. This is awesome. They've got Windows XP and Windows 7 in their manual. There's Windows XP again. Man. Smart BIOS update. So look, you can actually do the BIOS update without the CPU installed. Basically, they have the full like BIOS flashback support. And check this out. I just now noticed this. They have the full like 5.1 audio. This is something that a lot of the newer motherboards are cheaping out on. Like a lot of them only come with the mic, the line out, and the optical. So that's really interesting. So yeah, this is actually a pretty good motherboard. Like the thing is, I just don't know. I'm just not familiar with their BIOS, so I wouldn't know how to. It would take me a little bit to get familiar with navigating through their BIOS, but it looks pretty good, at least on paper. Like everything checks out, like in terms of the feature set. Like the website literally says it's the best gaming motherboard, so therefore it's gotta be the best one. Like this is perfect for like a 7800X 3D. Like what's their okay, look, check this out, BIOS. Look, they even have a Giza 1005, which means this motherboard already supports the 7800X 3D, and that thing isn't even out yet, and it already has support for it. Like these guys are on top of things. And it even says right here, caution, we do not recommend you to update BIOS while system is running. Updating BIOS improperly might cause system failure. Please do not hesitate to contact us via e-support if you need any assistance. So they support Windows 10, x64, and 11. It's funny, they had like screenshots of Windows XP, but they don't support Windows XP. But anyway, so that's a pretty good one. Like if you can, if depending on where you are in the world, like if this motherboard is in your area and you're considering like upgrading to AM5, I do think that this one is worth looking into. It seems pretty good. It's just my only thing, there's a couple of reservations. One of them, I'm not familiar with their BIOS. Number two, I have no idea like what their technical support is going to be like. So like if you have a problem and you have to call or you have to like open a support case with them, I have no idea like what that experience is going to be like. So that's really the only two reservations that I have about getting one of these as opposed to getting one of the big four. Any B650E Micro ATX? Not that I know of, Nobu. I think right now there aren't any. At least none that are available from Newegg. At least now, that there might be some that are added later this year. All right, Marcelo. Yeah, I'm about to end the stream. So it looks like we didn't get to play Resident Evil 4 demo. It basically turned into a tech stream again, but that's fine. I feel like these are the streams that people tend to remember better than the just the plain gaming ones. So all right, well I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream too at this point. We talked about the Valkyrie. It's a really good motherboard. It's just I don't know how the support would be on this one. But yeah, so anyway guys, yeah, we'll be back with more tech reviews, videos, live streams, etc. If you like this sort of content, feel free to subscribe. It does help me out a ton. I feel like without like the people subscribing, I just feel like I wouldn't be inclined to keep making these videos. So do subscribe if you like this content. If you like technology in general, not just PC DIY. Definitely subscribe. I have some plans for future streams for topics that are not just strictly computer hardware. So that's something just to be aware of if you're thinking what else you can expect to see on this channel. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And once again, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks.